Our story began in a landscape that looked like a painting. Someone then called a person named Asura. He was asked what he's doing. The lake lay clear and calm, its surface mirroring the lush trees that surrounded it, with a majestic mountain rising in the distance. He was mesmerized by the view before him. An old man teased him for just standing there. Shui looked surprised to see his father. He asked if the old man was really his dad. His father pats his head and calls him a little dummy for not even recognizing his own father. Then his father requested his help to pull the net so they could see their catch for that day. He also planned to show him some real skills later. Shui just stared at him. Then he tries to catch up to him. They rowed a boat and eventually his father pulled the nets. Shui was astonished, but later on he was made fun of when a crab bit his toe. In return, he playfully struck his father on the chest. In addition to that, they spent time carving their smiling faces on bamboo. They had so much fun together. Before they knew it, it was already dusk. They sat on the boat while watching the sunset. The father pats his son's head. Suddenly, Shui noticed a fish. It was a red carp. The fish turned away. He instantly dove at the lake so that it wouldn't get away. But when he was underwater, he was surprised that the fish had disappeared. He also wondered why there isn't a single fish left in the water. It's also strange that he couldn't move after he got in. He started to struggle and wanted to call his father for help, but eventually he blacked out. Then the night came. Shui woke up and muttered, "Dad," but was shocked to see men standing in front of him. His hands were tied. The old man named Zhang Shaoxing asked him if he was dreaming about his father. The other person was Mr. Zhang. This person exudes elegance. Shui saw the rope and asked what they were doing. Shaoxing said that Mr. Zhang is really clever. He tricks the kid into guiding them, but actually uses him as bait for the water monster. The three of them were on a boat under the night sky. The old man said they had been keeping watch while he slept peacefully. Shui was disoriented and realized that he just dreamt of his father earlier. He recalled that it has been a month since he came to that world. The original owner of the body died from an illness, and he ended up in his place. The original soul lost his mother at birth and was raised by his father until the man died 3 months ago from illness. But the emotions he held on to stayed behind and were inherited by the new soul. It was a feeling he had never known. Back when he was in the hospital, there wasn't a single person by his side. In a month, this new soul hadn't fully adjusted to the former owner's relationships and ended up being bait for a monster. After a month, he discovered that this world held extraordinary powers. People could train to reach incredible levels of strength, and those who did were called cultivators. But it wasn't just humans. Animals could train too. These beings were known as... Mr. Zhang then suddenly shouted that a monster was coming. Shaoxing muttered that it was the water beast. Shui turned to look behind him. Then, the monster's silhouette appeared beneath the water, slowly circling the boat. The monster's body broke through the surface. Mr. Zhang looked worried. They were told the monster was only 0.5 meter long. But this thing was massive. The boat shook violently. The monster was headed straight for them. Mr. Zhang, however, was thrilled. He felt this was his moment, the one he'd been training 10 years for. He was ready to unleash a strike that would shake the world. Just as he prepared to attack, the monster's crocodile-like head rose from the water with its jaws wide open. It destroyed the boat in an instant. Shui and Shaoxing clung to broken wooden planks, trying to stay afloat. Shaoxing panicked and stated that he just couldn't die there. He looked at Shui and stabbed the hand Shui was using to hold on. Shui slipped into the water and started to descend. His bleeding hand made it hard to swim. He struggled to breathe. He tried to bite through the rope around his wrist. But the monster was heading straight for him. He was running out of air until he totally lost consciousness. Then a voice called out his name. "Ah, Shui!" As he opened his eyes, he saw his father. RMC couldn't believe it. He reached out, thinking how nice it would be if this was real. His hand inched closer, and finally, he grabbed on. But the arm turned into bamboo he had carved their faces into. He lifted himself up. He recognized that it was from his father's boat. Then what looked like an enormous tentacle appeared. Ah Shui was then pulled in the water again. He didn't notice the monster sneaking up behind him. The water beast was a massive crocodile, dragging him by the foot through the murky depths. He eventually gave up. That time, he felt apologetic to his father. Not long after, our MC reached the ocean floor. The water monster was about to eat him. It opened its mouth wide and revealed its sharp teeth. Shui closed his eyes and accepted his fate. But a wooden chest appeared just as he lost his consciousness. A system panel showed that a water cauldron has been activated. It scanned and found a water spirit. Later on, the skill acquisition was successful. Our MC gained the ability called water manipulation. The cauldron glowed. The system displayed the available water spirit, an aquatic monkey. The acquisition was successful, and integration and awakening began. His body started recovering. Underwater, Shui slowly opened his eyes. He realized he hadn't died in the lake. He suddenly recalled the last memory before everything went dark. The crocodile's massive jaws were about to devour him. To his surprise, he now could move freely. It felt strange, like he was walking on solid ground, even though he was deep underwater. A screen appeared in front of him. It showed a new skill: flow of water control, which allowed him to manipulate water currents at the cost of physical energy. He then blinked. He could breathe. His eyes widened as bubbles escaped from his mouth. Even his wounds were healed. Then the water monster appeared behind him. It lunged to devour him. Shui froze. Panic took over. He shut his eyes tight, waiting for the end. But nothing happened. Opening his eyes again, he saw the monster hanging mid-water, suspended. He stared in awe, wondering if he had done that. Was this like those systems from novels? He wondered. He realized he had full control over the water around him. Down here, he was limitless. But then, the suspension broke. The monster thrashed free, surging forward. Its jaws opened wide. Shui barely dodged in time. He realized that just fighting the monster wouldn't work. Nothing would change that way. He thought about making it submit to him, but he had no idea how. Suddenly, a screen appeared. A new skill, Blood Dominion. The effect: when the bearer uses their own blood, they can inscribe ancient runes to form a contract with an aquatic spirit. That gave him hope. But just as he was checking the screen, the water monster lunged at him again. Shui reacted fast. He then used flow of water control to bind it. Chains of water wrapped around the monster, holding it still. But the monster was strong. It shattered the chains and charged again. Just a few seconds later, red symbols glowed in Shui's palm. Blood Dominion was activating. The symbols shaped themselves into a sword, and the word sword intent glowed at the center. Shui placed his hand on the monster's head and carved the runes into it. But the beast dragged him through the water. He screamed, but it refused to let him go. It was a contest of spiritual power, Shui realized. Then his eyes changed. Blood-colored clouds filled the whites of his eyes, and his pupils turned reptilian. Scales formed beneath one eye. The pressure from the monster was unbearable. He felt like he was going to lose. But then, he remembered himself. His real self. Alone in the hospital in his past life. That memory made him fight harder. Another rune formed in his other hand. He pressed both hands onto the beast's head and roared for it to submit. Then silence fell. Under the full moon, the lake was calm again. Shui slowly emerged, crawling to the shore, exhausted but alive. Behind him, the water monster surfaced, watching him quietly. But Shui wasn't afraid anymore. It had submitted. The system updated: Bearer, Liang Shu. Spirit, Water Monkey. Fusion level, 5%. Water, Essence, 0.0. Required Essence for Taihui, 80. The Water Monkey had limited potential, suitable for beginners, but born from a great master. Shui told the monster to wait. He'd call on it when needed. A spiritual link now tied them together. He could summon it any time. The beast then swam away. Shui, drained, decided that he should head home. All he wanted was food and sleep. Thanks to the original soul's memories, he knew the area. Home wasn't far. Meanwhile, the monster kept swimming deeper into the lake, slipping into the shadows of a hidden cave. Inside the cave, Life for the monster was abundant. The next day, in a nearby village, a man reported to Steward Zheng that they were close to their target. It was Xiaoxing, leading the gentleman straight toward Shui's home. Villagers watched from a distance, whispering. They recognized the group and called them Crazy Zheng and the Zhao Manor Men. They wondered if Shui got in trouble again. One young man overheard. His name was Li Libo, Shui's childhood friend. His expression darkened with worry. Back at Shui's house, the group approached. Xiaoxing gritted his teeth, thinking that if the kid's dead, he could take his possessions. That would cover their mission failure. Anger rose inside him as he thought of Zheng's incompetence. He didn't hesitate and kicked the door open. He was surprised to see that Shui is not dead. Zheng was furious and asked him why he's rushing into thinking that. Xiaoxing tried to change the topic and went straight to introducing our MC. Zheng Xiang, the steward of the Zhao family, looked intimidating. He told Shui that he's pretty lucky to still be alive. The nosy old man commented that disasters always live 1,000 years. Steward Zheng then ordered his men to grab him. Shui, in panic, asked them what they were doing. One man punched him in the gut, telling him to quit spouting nonsense. Xiaoxing told him that Master Zhao, for the villagers' sake, invited great warrior Zhang to subdue the monster, and he accused Shui of conspiring with the monster to murder Mr. Zhang. And that cost them a huge sum of money and endangered everyone in the village. Shui pointed at Xiaoxing and calmly said he was the one at fault, the one who tied him up, set him up, and threw him in as bait for the water monster. But Xiaoxing continued with his claims, saying that Shui killed Mr. Zhang and still had the nerve to come back. He called him a monster. That struck something in the soul in Shui's body, because ever since he became an orphan, they always treated him like some freak. They branded him as a monster and accused him of misdeeds like stealing. They made fun of him. It made him resentful. There was a time when a bully dared him to a fight, and he punched that person. Being called a monster is nothing new to him. And even if it means revealing his power, he wouldn't give up because that's not his nature. He charged on Xiaoxing, but then he lost his balance and knocked the basin with water. It fell on the ground and the water splashed all over. In his mind, even if he becomes the monster that they say he is, he's decided to at least take a chunk of them down with him. Xiaoxing suggested to Steward Zheng to tie him up and take him straight to Zhao Manor. It's because they need more people in there to feed that thing, and an orphan is just perfect. Zheng offered for him to become Master's Zhao adopted son. If he accepts, they will let things go. Otherwise, they will break his legs right there. Villagers gathered at the door and gossiped. They had heard rumors that several people had already disappeared after being taken to Zhao Manor in the neighboring country. And it was so strange because lately, Zhao family has adopted lots of people. Someone asked who dared to lay a finger on his little Shui. People turned to look. It was the village chief. He vowed that no one can do that when he's still alive. Zheng called him stubborn. The old man demanded respect as he reminded Zheng that he's an official of the Dacian dynasty. He asked him if he plans to attack an active official. Zheng felt cornered. The village chief yelled that even Zheng's master had to show him some respect, and if the guy kept pushing, he'd report him. Zheng got annoyed with this stubborn old man. He cursed the old man and decided not to bother fighting him that day, but he threatened him that once he's back, he'll report to Master Zhao and things won't end easily. And so they left. Before Xiaoxing exits, he commented that Shui is like his father who doesn't appreciate anything good. Then, they were gone. The village chief told Shui to avoid trouble if he can. Shui thanked the grandpa and promised to keep that in mind. And the old man with his attendant left. He told everyone to clear the way too. Shui knew that the same situation will happen again and again in the future. He's also aware that the grandpa village chief wouldn't always be there to save him. Because of that, he wanted to become stronger, and the system was his chance. Then a screen appeared and showed that water essence has been detected, and pet evolution increased by 0.1. That surprised him. What is a water essence? He wondered. Shui was back at the lake. After subduing the great Taihua crocodile, he can summon it at any time through their spiritual link. Then a specific portion of the lake glowed, and the water started swirling. The water rose as tall as Shui, and the crocodile appeared. But he was dumbfounded at what he saw. The giant crocodile has turned small. The system informed him that subdued aquatic beasts can change their body size at will to manage energy consumption. It gained +1 evolution points. The water monster is currently in its miniature form and the energy consumption for that is low. Shui was amazed that the system has that feature. He asked the crocodile where it found the water essence. He requested him to show the way. They dove down the lake and swam. The crocodile led him to a cave. He pushed aside the aquatic plants. And when he saw what was inside, his jaw dropped. There were several items that glowed brightly on the waterbed. He wondered if those were the legendary spirit plants. He touched one, and the system showed that it's a spirit plant with water essence, and he can choose to absorb it. He uttered that this world contains spiritual materials and treasures that have absorbed extraordinary energies. Those plants with special effects are known as spirit plants. There was a rumor that there's a frozen pond in the Zhao's manor backyard, and at the bottom, some special vines grow. Master Zhao uses them to lure cultivators and turn them into his followers. Shui wanted to see how much water essence he can get from those spirit plants, so he gathered it, and sought the little crocodile's help. But the crocodile just laid on its back and closed its eyes. Shui called it lazy and accepted that he got to do it by himself. When he finished gathering, he went back up the shore. He was happy to hold the spiritual plant. Then he bit into it. The system displayed that water essence was detected. It can be used to improve the fusion of the aquatic spirit and the evolution of aquatic beasts. Shui finds the plant delicious. As he eats, his water essence increases. Eventually, he's full and ended up with a big belly. The system showed his stats. He now has 25 water essence. The Taihua crocodile requires 800 water essence to evolve. Looking at that made him think that he needs to improve himself. He pressed increase and felt his body rapidly getting stronger. The mist behind him formed the face of a monkey. Shui was thinking that with the power that he has, he could now take on the guys who visited him the other day. The screen displayed the aquatic spirit refinement, wherein the fusion with the white water monkey is at 7.5%, and there's no water essence left. Shui estimated that his weight had gone up to 45 kilos. He decided to gather more energy over a few days, as he can no longer absorb anymore. And he has more pressing concerns, which are the finances. Since autumn is coming to an end, and during that season, crocodiles have slower blood flow because of hibernation. He knew he couldn't rely on his crocodile during that time. Then a fish was dropped in front of him. The little crocodile got him that. It made him happy, and he realized that he could actually rely on it. With that, he can solve his temporary money problem by selling it at the market. The next day, Shui was glad that he had sold a large yellow fish for 80 coins. It was a small profit, but it helps. He noticed that the merchants of that world aren't like the market vendors in his previous life. He finds the merchants here pretty easy to convince. After dealing with the water essence issue, his next step is to find the right moment to settle things with Crazy Zhang. Then the old man Xiaoxing saw him. He admits that there was some misunderstanding between them a few days ago, and he was looking for him to apologize. Xiaoxing told him that his boat is nearby, and he invited him to have a meal together to clear up the misunderstanding. He encourages Shui to relax as it will only be the two of them, but deep inside, that's not true. He was trying to corner him. A devilish grin flashes on Shui's face. He went along with the facade and replied that it makes him feel safer that it's just the two of them. Earlier, Xiaoqing was cornered by Zheng. He had his men beat him up and told him that during that time, experiments had taken place in the mansion, causing many people to die. He added that the mansion is in need of materials to refine pills, and that Shui is a complete orphan which is perfect for the purpose. He asked Xiaoxing if he understood what it meant. Helpless, Xiaoqing replied that he understands, and that Shui won't be able to escape when he captures him first thing tomorrow. Zheng whispered to him that if he does that job right, Master Zhao and the Great Lords will help him become immortal. That made Xiaoxing happy. Zheng promised him that it's true. Xiaoxing was blinded with desire. When he opened his shirt, it revealed a tattoo on his torso. He also has cuts in his body, and his eyes were bloodshot. So the next day, he rowed the boat with Shui. He pointed out the beautiful scenery and how there's no Zhou Kingdom ships around. While he stirred the pot at the center, he slipped a pill in. He invited him to drink and forget their differences. Shui asked if he's certain that there were no other ships nearby. The old man replied that he was sure since he scouted the place himself. He planned for Shui to drink the fish soup, and even just a bit of it will poison him. Shui stood up and glared at him. Xiaoxing asked what our MC was planning to do. Not long after, a blob of water covered his face. He started drowning. The last vision he saw was Shui. The night came. The old man started waking up and found himself tied in a rope. Shui teased him for sleeping soundly. He asked what he plans to do with him. Shui was holding a money bag and uttered that it looked like Oldie accepted a lot of bribes just to get him into the Zhao mansion. Xiaoxing tried to explain himself, but Shui was already looking ahead. He turned to the old man and asked if the place looked familiar to him. Xiaoxing knew that this was the exact place where the water monster had appeared. Just a few moments later, the crocodile emerged. Xiaoxing trembled in fear. While our MC shared that the crocodile used to be an aquatic monster, but now it's his pet. He recalled the old man calling him a monster. Xiaoxing called him that again. Then he begged him not to eat him and promised to tell him everything. Shui wanted to know why Zheng wanted to bring him to the Zhao mansion. He also inquired why they have been recruiting so many servants lately. He replied that those people are materials that Master Zhao had gathered to become immortal. He shared that to achieve immortality, Master Zhao needs to refine a celestial pill, and all of them were used as ingredients for it. Shui concluded that they have captured a lot of innocent people. Xiaoxing defended that he was forced into doing it, but in his head he was calling him a fool because he had planned to use him as material too. He was about to say something when Shui lifted a rock and hit him with it. Blood splattered. Shui stated that the old man had seen everything, including the monster part of him. He dropped him in the water. Now that he knew they wanted him to become an ingredient for a pill, if he didn't kill him, he'd be the first one to die. He realized that he needed a powerful backing to buy time and grow stronger. Xiaoxing sank. Then the markings on his torso glowed. The sun rose. A water bird rests on the edge of the boat. Suddenly, a hand emerged from the water and grabbed onto the boat. It was Shui. He dove on the lake to catch some fish. He thought of how having an ability makes things easier. It had been 3 days since he killed Xiaoxiang. And during that time, to avoid suspicion, he had been acting like a normal fisherman, heading out early and coming back late, and selling fish to earn money. He hasn't even returned to the lotus pond. And as for the boat, he covered it by saying that he forced Xiaoxiang to trade it with him. Shui is aware that the Zhao won't sit idly, and Xiaoxiang's sudden disappearance will eventually lead them to discover him. He knew his only way out is to become a cultivator as soon as possible. And the fastest way to do that is by joining a martial arts school. In Pingyang City, there are 3 martial arts schools, and the strongest is the Yang Clan School. It is said that the master of the Yang School possesses the legendary ability to break gold and stone with his bare hands, which is why he remains at the top. Shui was thinking that if he managed to join that school, the Zhao family wouldn't dare lay a finger on him so easily, because the school won't let it slide when a student disappears. But he was concerned because to get enrolled, he needs to have at least 5 to 8 taels of silver, and currently, he only has 2 taels and 8 coins, which means he needs to earn more money. The little crocodile then clings onto him. That made him snap out of his concerns and just laughed it off. He noticed that ever since he improved his body last time, he'd been slowly getting used to his growing strength. His physical powers had also increased quite a bit. Now he can carry 2 or 2.5 kilos. He decided to continue fishing. Ever since he awakened, he felt like he could move more easily in the water. He called this little crocodile Sleepyhead and went racing with him. Recently, it had become his training method. The little crocodile glanced at him with a cheeky expression on its face. Shui used a technique where the water control energy to compress the water under his feet and then release it in one go. But the problem is that it's not sustainable as it drains his mana quickly. Despite that, he became confident of his speed. Then a shadow swam beneath him. It was a red fish. It moved so fast that it left a trail of red light. He realized that it was a mystic fish. In this world, some creatures can evolve with a certain special energy. They are known as spiritual fish. He just saw 2 of them. Normally, it was hard to find even one, but he was fortunate to find 2 at once. Those 2 spiritual fish went separate ways. He ordered Sleepyhead to chase the other one. The croc then emitted his aura, and went back to his large form. While Shui chased the other spiritual fish, he wished that he brought a fishing net. He controlled the water on his feet to propel him forward. Then he used water control and sealed the spiritual fish in a bubble. Then he caught it using his hands. Of course, he was happy to finally have one, but just right after that, he sensed an ominous presence. A dark figure appeared right behind him. Shui continued catching fish. He was glad that it went well and he'll be able to sell it for a decent amount of money. All of a sudden, something wrapped around his torso. That surprised him. He was thrown on the waterbed. The impact made him cough. A large creature looking like a dragon loomed over him. He wondered what that thing was. There was a rumor that a six-barbed fish lives in the Yixing River and devours people. He complained about the awful luck he had for running into it. He saw it move and wondered if it's going to do the same trick again. Shui immediately used water control and attacked it with water bombs. The creature seemed surprised. He felt relieved that he reacted in time. The creature tried to tackle him, but he evaded. Then, he saw it smiling. Suddenly, a shadow swam underneath it, and when the crocodile was positioned, he smacked the creature using its tail. The crocodile gave Shui a reassuring glance, then it bit the creature's neck. The crocodile did well to immobilize it. Shui knew it was his perfect time to counterattack. If he doesn't subdue it, he's the one who's going to die. Once he was able to touch its head, he activated the Blood Dominion Talisman. He expected his spiritual energy to be enough to bring it under control, but red screens appeared before him to warn him that it might cause mental overload. He was advised to stop immediately. His mental energy is too low, which causes him to be immobilized. His mental energy then reached critical condition level. He screamed out loud as he persisted. A small light then entered the creature's eye, and it was dumbfounded. Shui's boat was suspended in the water. Then he came up to it. He was relieved to have done it. He didn't expect for the six-barbed fish to have such strong spiritual energy that he almost lost control. But glancing at it, he could say that it was worth it. The small form of it looked like a doofus. The system notified him that it had been subdued, and it could evolve to a tiger-head whale when he spends 800 water essence. Since it was so chubby, he decided to call it Fatty. After that, he dumped the content of his creel. The spiritual fish came out. Then Sleepyhead opened its mouth to show the spiritual fish. Shui pats it and praises it for being reliable. In no time, his boat was filled with fish and 2 spiritual fishes. He cooked the smaller spiritual fish to see if it could boost his power. When he finished eating it, he decided to keep the horn as a souvenir. At this point, his water essence increased to plus 18. 18 points equates to 18 spiritual lotus roots. He started to think that when a small fish yields that much, a big one should give triple. He's expecting it to be around 54 water essence points. His fusion is now at 7.5%, and if he absorbs both of the spiritual fish, he can exceed 10% immediately. But he had to hold back since saving for school expenses is the most important for him. But looking how full his boat is, he knew he had more than enough at the entrance of the Yixing market. Shui walks the crowded street. He noticed a crowd and got curious. He knew they had just a festival last month, so it was a puzzle to him what they were celebrating. They were crowding at Zhen Jicheng, who is holding a spirit fish that appears once every 100 years, and it weighs 1.18 kilograms. A lot of people were amazed. Shui got intrigued. He squeezed through to get past. Some people recognized him and asked what's the rush. He finally made it in front. Then, he exclaimed that their village had been blessed by the river god, for they had caught 2 spiritual fishes in one day. One person asked what he's talking about when the boy only caught 1 fish. He clarified that he wasn't talking about the guy's fish. He was talking about him. Then he brought out the spiritual fish from the basket. They laughed at him. They don't believe that it's a spiritual fish. They all assumed that he just grabbed an old fish and sold it at a high price. They started mocking him. Even Jichang scoffed. Then someone came and recognized the crimson bloodfish. It's Hu Qi, the master from the Yang martial arts school. They got intimidated by his aura. He asked Jichang how much the fish was. Jichang replied that he should name the price that he thinks is fair. He inquired about the weight, then suggested buying it for 3 taels. That made Jichang happy and excited. Shui offered his fish too. The crowd mocked him and called him shameless. They warned him that if he made the master angry, they would all pay the price for it. Qi saw that it was a horned pomfret. Shui agreed and told him that it weighs 1.61 kilograms. Deep inside, he just found out that it's called a horned pomfret. Qi offered him 6 taels and 5 coins. That shocked everyone. The silence was deafening. Until someone exclaimed that even combining the savings of all the generations in their family, it wouldn't come close to that. Ji-chang felt overwhelmed too. A guy from the back warned Shui not to kick the bucket before he can even spend it. Shui expressed that he will sell it. Ji-chang left looking gloomy. Shui politely asked why his fish is worth double the crimson bloodfish. I explained that horned pomfret is used in medicine to make special pills. It strengthens essence and refines energy, helping one break through the blood flow barrier. He shared that he happened to be at that stage, so it's very useful to him. Shui thanked him. He was glad that he kept that fish. Later that day, Shui was counting his coins. Then a shadow towered over him. It was Li Libo. He wrapped his arm around Shui's shoulder and praised him for bringing pride to their village. Shui remembered that he hasn't thanked him yet for what he did the other day. Libo joked with him to hand over the 6 tiles. Shui changed the topic by asking him if he knew how much it costs to enroll at the Yang Martial Arts School. Libo was confident to answer that because his father was about to send him there. He explained that Yang School charges 7 taels of silver without lodging or meals, 10 taels with lodging, and 20 taels for lodging and medicinal baths. He admitted that it's a bit pricier than the other 2 academies, but it's also the most prestigious. Shui thought about it. He has savings for the past few days, plus 6 taels and 5 coins he got from selling the fish. In total, he had 9 taels and 2 coins, and it was more than enough. Shui invited him to sign up tomorrow. Libo teased him for being loaded. He agreed to go with him. Out of the blue, Shui heard someone say that he saw another treasure fish. He was surprised. Meanwhile, at the Zhao Manor, Steward Zheng reported that they don't know where Zhang is, but they at least have tracked down Shui. The master replied that he shouldn't be bothered with such trivial stuff. With a scowl in his face, he ordered them to handle it themselves. It was already late at night, but there's still a boat in the lake. He sliced a piece of fish and threw it in a pot. It was Shui together with Sleepyhead. He just cooked fish stew. He soon tasted it and felt happy and satisfied with the way it tasted and smelled. Then he let his pets taste it by throwing some into the water. The system notified him that he gained plus 24 water essence. Because of that, he became certain it was a spirit fish. He gained it easily, and his physical strength had improved a lot too. He felt lucky that Fatty found another spirit fish. With that, it was time to upgrade. Last time, the horned pomfret gave 18 essences. This time, he got 24. He clicked Refinement. Power flowed through him continuously. His fusion with the water monkey increased to 11.7%. He now had plus 24 water essence and 2 aquatic beasts, the Taihua crocodile and the 6-whiskered catfish. He threw a punch into the air, excited, saying it would be perfect if he could find someone to train with. His ability to control water had clearly improved. Even with leftover food, the water essence needed for Fatty to move dropped significantly. The system showed that evolving the Taihua crocodile into a horned crocodile would cost 779 water essence. The same goes for evolving the 6-whiskered catfish into a tiger head. He looked at his cauldron, impressed. He wondered if someone crafted it, or if it was a natural phenomenon. All he could tell was that it had features resembling Ying Long, the winged dragon, an enormous monkey like Wu Ziqi and other creatures, some with a human head and snake body, and a cloaked figure in black. But he knew thinking too much about it wouldn't help. He got excited at the thought of going to martial arts school tomorrow. He was determined to get stronger, fast, so he could face the Zhao family. The next day, they rode a cargo carriage. Libo asked how long it would take them to get there. He spotted someone ahead and pointed it out. They finally reached Pingyang City. They walked the Rabi through the busy streets. They ate, window shopped, and watched street performers. In a hidden alley, suspicious men waited for them. These guys were sure Shui and Libo would pass through there. After all, they overheard Shui talking about enrolling. One of them knew the brat sold a fish for 6 taels, which was a fortune. Not even selling their wives would fetch that much. Another was worried about trouble with the magistrate's office, but the guy brushed it off, claiming they were helping manage the kids' money. They were waiting on a quiet route to the school. Finally, they spotted them coming. Libo joked about whether he could beat several guys after their training. Shui didn't know exactly how many he could beat, but he was confident he could handle a few. Then, not long after, a man stepped forward and blocked their path. It was Steward Zheng with his cronies. They told Shui to hand over the money. They threatened to bury them by the roadside if they refused. Shui calmly replied that he'd be the one to bury them by the roadside. The man got angry and raised his fist, but Shui punched him first. Another man rushed in from behind. Shui quickly elbowed him, grabbed him by the hair, and hurled him into the leader. The leader tried to dodge, but before he could react, Shui's fist was already in his face. The punch sent him crashing into the ground so hard that it cracked beneath him. Even Libo was stunned by Shui's speed. 9 moves. That's all it took to end the fight, he took note. Steward Zheng lay on the ground while our MC stood tall above him, staring at his own hands in disbelief. Shui could feel how much stronger his body had become. Libo asked when he got that strong, and even joked that maybe he didn't need a master anymore. Shui tried to play it off and claimed that he was just a genius. He then casually rushed ahead to register. Libo, however, remained suspicious. They soon arrived at the school gates. A man greeted them and introduced himself as Yang Changsong. He asked them to call him Brother Xiang. The two greeted him politely. Then Brother Xiang guided them to someone in charge of assessing their talent and explaining cultivation in more detail. He pointed to a man and introduced him as Big Brother Hu, a direct disciple of Master Yang. Upon seeing him, our MC asked if he was the one who bought the fish the other day. That immediately caught the instructor's attention. Hu Chi turned and took notice, and walked over them to greet the two. Brother Xiang then asked if the two knew each other. Master Hu Chi explained that the horned pomfret he used for his breakthrough was bought from Shui. Brother Xiang thought that was great news. He told them they could follow Big Brother Hu for training and stay at the school that night. They both greeted Big Brother Hu respectfully. He asked them to follow him for a bone structure test. Shui asked what that meant. Big Brother Hu smiled and explained it was just a way to determine which training style would suit them best. Shui then asked for a better understanding of the martial path. Big Brother Hu explained that martial cultivation is based on 4 stages: skin, flesh, blood, and bone. In the skin stage, your body becomes tough like oxhide. In the flesh stage, your strength multiplies. You could lift a person one-handed. In the bone stage, your power gains sharpness. You could break stones or split wood with a strike. And finally, the blood stage amplifies everything to its fullest potential. But in the end, it all comes down to one thing: refinement. Ordinary people can train their bodies, but they'll eventually hit a wall. To go beyond, you need 2 things: technique and medicine. Shui and Libo had no idea what those meant. Big Brother Hu explained, technique is the method of training. At Yang School, they had 3 combat styles to choose from. Pills, on the other hand, are like climbing aids. Imagine the technique as a ladder. It's steep and dangerous. Pills are the handrails that help you climb faster and more safely. And the horned pomfret Shui sold? That was the kind of pill that helped make breakthroughs. Shui was amazed. With his cauldron of fortune, he figured he could easily get his hands on things like that again. Big Brother Hu reminded them that the path of cultivation is long, and they should take each step seriously. Shui thanked him and said he was ready for his evaluation, but someone was watching from a distance. 3 men, one of them being Hu Yankai, stood observing. He turned to the man beside him and asked, "Is that the one you mentioned?" A man in fine robes nodded. He told Yankai to get them kicked out of the school. This was Zhao Shuiyuan, also called Zhao Sangongzi. As for what Yantai wanted in return, Zhao Shuiyuan would take care of it personally. Zhen reported to his master that Shui, a 15-year-old boy, was the perfect candidate for pill refinement. Just like their third master, Shui was an orphan, making him a fitting match. He explained that if they succeeded in capturing and refining the boy into a pill, it could greatly benefit young Master Zhao's body. Master Zhao agreed. Ever since Yuan was a child, he'd been sickly. Finding someone his age with the right attributes for refinement was nearly impossible. That's why he also believed Shui was the best material. But there was a problem, the master added. He had heard that Shui planned to enter the Yang martial arts school. That made their next move more difficult and risky. They had to be cautious. Unbeknownst to them, the young master himself had been eavesdropping the whole time. Zheng left, and a piece of paper had dropped from his hands. It was a drawing of Shui. The young master picked it up. With his eyes fixed on it, the young master vowed to consume the pill and achieve immortality, no matter who had to die in the process. Meanwhile, Libo grumbled about how Shui got first-class bone talent while he only landed upper middle class. He accused Shui of cheating somehow. Shui just brushed it off and joked that he had more than just talent. As they walked on, Libo asked Shui to slow down, but Shui was eager to get to the training field. That's when Libo stopped, surprised to see someone. It was Chen Jichang. Libo asked what he was doing there. Jichang responded with a sharp tone, saying he had every right to be. The two seemed to clash right away, but Shui stepped in to cool things down. He greeted Jichang, remembering that he was from the same village, Yixing, and was 2 years older than him. Jichang had been a well-known fisherman and was friendly with the body's former owner. Shui asked if he was there to train too. Jichang confirmed, saying that without strength, a person is lost. He sold all his fish and used the money to enroll. Shui invited him to join them, warning that Big Brother Hu was probably already starting the lesson. Libo freaked out, not wanting to be late. At the training field, someone let out a loud "Ha!" while punching the air. A group of shirtless trainees were doing squats in unison. Libo looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. Shui and Jichang were also struggling. Hu finally called for a break and offered them advice. He announced that their training would resume in the afternoon. The three slumped over, completely exhausted. Libo even thought about giving up. That's when someone walked over and made a comment about the fishy smell coming off them. It was Lu Yanqi, Shui Dingyi, and another man. Dingyi sneered at them, joking that they looked like they just crawled out of a fish's belly. Yanqi told them that if they handed over 2 tails each, they'd be allowed to stay at the school. Libo immediately got angry and was about to charge, but Jichang grabbed his arm and stopped him, warning not to cause trouble. Shui stayed quiet, sizing them up. Based on their aura and movements, he wasn't confident he could take them on in his current state. Yanqi was itching for a fight, bragging that he was on the verge of breaking through the skin barrier and wanted to test his strength. Shui thought to himself that if only they were near the river, things would be different. Libo and Jichang held back, keeping their tempers in check. Suddenly, a voice called out to Yanqi. It was Big Brother Hu. He told him that if he had nothing better to do, he should spend the next half hour practicing postures. Yanqi clicked his tongue and muttered under his breath that those 3 were lucky. He spat that the school wasn't a place for trash like them. Big Brother Hu barked at them to get moving. Yanqi shouted back that they were going. Once Hu was gone, Libo cursed at Yanqi and flipped him off. Jichang advised him to let it go, grumbling behind their backs. Wouldn't change anything. Shui understood that more than anyone. Power was all that mattered here, and he needed more of it, fast. He told Libo and Jichang that he was heading home for a bit, and asked them to inform Big Brother Hu. The two were puzzled at his sudden departure. Shortly after, Shui received a message. The lotus field, his secret place for growth, was under threat. It was essential to his training. He had to protect it no matter what. Then the night fell. Libo paced around, worried that Shui still hadn't come back after a full day. Jichang argued that Shui probably had something urgent to deal with. And just like that, they were triggered to fight. Before they could continue, they were interrupted. Yanqi appeared in front of them, grinning. He was thrilled to find them without Big Brother Hu around. Libo and Jichang gritted their teeth. Yanqi cracked his knuckles, smirking as several men stood behind him. He told them this time he was going to crush them. At the lake. Shui, along with his pets, were swimming around observing the place. Shui was cautious though, because even if Fatty has the strength close to the skin realm, it conveyed that it was scared. It made him wonder what creature could be there. He then arrived at the cave. It wasn't there, but from the marks that it left, Shui could tell that it was huge. Sleepyhead and Fatty noticed something. Since Shui ate the spirit fish, his fusion level rose to 11.7%, and now he can control up to 35 liters of water. The most important thing is his underwater perception that expanded from 1 meter to 6 meters and lets him capture the seabed details more clearly. He looked horrified at what he saw. He saw a silhouette and assumed it was the monster that caused it all. But it looked like a crab, too. And it was gigantic. With that size, Shui assumed it had developed some consciousness. He remembered what Big Brother Hu said, that any creature that surpasses the skin realm becomes beast spirit. Following that logic, he assumed that the crab is a beast spirit, but he thinks that it wasn't that strong, otherwise Fatty wouldn't have managed to escape. He doubted if he could do it, especially when he doesn't have a plan. Shui realized he should have come up with a plan. Then memories of being called a monster flashed through his mind. He also remembered Shao Qing saying he was just like his father, someone who didn't know how to value what was in front of him. And then there was that bastard Yan Cai, who had already bullied the three of them back at school. Our MC accepted that danger has been part of his life. He reasoned that things that change one's destiny requires taking risks, and significant events usually occur by chance. Only trivial matters can be planned down to the last detail. He grits his teeth as he decides not to give up. He's not the type of person to let go of what's already in his grasp. When Shao Qing tried to take his life, the old man died. Following that reasoning, since this creature wants to take away his lotus field, he won't back down. His pets are also ready to fight by side. Then they all charged at it. Meanwhile, back at the school, Ji-chang already got beaten up. Yan Cai loomed over him, asking him where his pathetic friends were. Ji-chang then grabbed a brick and smashed it in Yan Cai's head. Yan Cai stayed still until he stood up and planted his foot on Ji-chang's face. He was furious. He uttered that those two surely had a death wish. He ordered 3 of his men to watch at the gate while he had some fun torturing those two. 3 men happily agreed. Libo got triggered and attacked. Yan Cai grabbed his wrist and twisted his arm. Then Yan Cai sat on him while commenting that he's talkative. Then, he grabbed Ji-chang's head and pointed out that he has sharp eyes. He wanted to gouge his eyes out so he couldn't train after. Libo, unable to move, yelled at him to stop at once. Ji-chang watched as the finger approached his eyes. It was followed by his loud scream. In his head, he screams, "Stop!" Back at the lake, the crab claws grabbed a rock, and it crushed it, while Shui evades it. Shui was in a pinch since the shell was practically indestructible. He told Sleepyhead to go around it. It bit the crab's claw. Then Shui used water flow control. Fatty charges forward. Suddenly, Shui felt a pang of pain. He lost control of his mental energy and misfired. The crab moved its claw and shielded its body. Fatty tackled it. Shui was pleased with that. The crab made a loud gurgling sound. It stomped its foot and ruined the ground. Even the lotus field got affected. Shui saw it and got worried. He got distracted and was hit by the monster. It made him cough blood. He stumbled backwards. Yet he was determined to kill that crab. It towered over him. While he observes it to find its weakness, it tried to hit him using its claw, but he was able to evade it. He watched it intensely. He saw Sleepyhead and Fatty swimming towards them. Sleepyhead bit the claw while Fatty tackled the other claw. Shui noticed that no matter how much damage it takes, it instinctively guards its underside, which made him think that its weak point is the belly. He gripped his spear. He had been planning that move for a long time, compressing the water flow to its absolute limit at the tip of the wooden spear. At that time, he can barely construct 2 rings with his remaining mental strength. It will give the spear 2 stages of acceleration. Pushing himself caused his nose to bleed, and the system window warned him that his mental strength is too low. There is a risk of backlash from controlled water beasts. He was advised to cease action immediately, but he wasn't one to give up. Shui threw his spear, aiming right at the monster's abdomen, and claimed that the lotus field is his. The spear pierced through the giant beast. Seeing that he won, Shui smiled, yet he slowly lost consciousness. He jolted awake. Realizing he had passed out, he saw his little pets beside him. He gently patted their heads, understanding now that they had pulled him out of the water. Still groggy, he sat up. His head was pounding. Clearly, he had to be more careful when using that move. Then something caught his eye. He looked down at what he was holding. To his surprise, it was the crab monster. He blinked, then asked aloud how those two even managed to drag it up. The sight made his stomach growl. If he could absorb this one, it might grant him a large amount of water essence. Then Sleepyhead pointed at something. He looked closer and realized the crab was female. There were eggs. He imagined what it would be like to tame a crab that size. It could be a huge help, but even if he couldn't tame the big one, the eggs might still hatch. He placed the eggs gently beside the crab, wondering if the blood dominion could work on them. He grabbed a sharp rock and cut his palm. With his blood, he used the blood command seal on the eggs. A marking appeared on one of them. He watched. The egg wobbled, and then a tiny claw poked through. A baby crab hatched from the egg. It looked very cute. Then the system message popped up. Stone crab successfully tamed. Can evolve into Stone Crab King with 8,000 water essence. It was indeed another win. Once he finished taming the crab, Shui cooked and ate it. Right after, his fusion rate started climbing quickly. From 14.7%, it jumped to 18.8%, then all the way up to 36.6%. Behind him, a phantom image of the water monkey appeared. His eyes turned a bright, glowing blue. His three pets stared at him in amazement. A soft blue light wrapped around his body, and he felt his wounds vanish completely. It felt like a divine miracle. The pets were clearly awestruck. Shui was thrilled. Not only had his fusion reached 36.6%, but his body was enhanced even further by the mystic fish and the energy gained through the fusion. He could now sense the flow of his own blood energy. He remembered what Big Brother Hu had said, that he was close to breaking through the skin barrier. Now, Shui believed he might be even stronger. He shared the remaining crab meat and eggs with Sleepyhead and Fatty. The meat wouldn't stay fresh, and each egg only gave 6 water essence, not enough to be worth keeping. He didn't feed any to the crab itself. That felt wrong, like making it eat its own kind. Instead, he gave it a name, Fist, because it was about the size of one. He set a goal for himself. If he could break through the skin barrier within a month, he'd officially become a Martial Hall student. By then, the Zhao family wouldn't be able to threaten him anymore. He planned to return to the martial school the next morning to attend training, but what he didn't know was that his friends were in trouble. At that very moment, someone was shouting for Yankai to stop. The voice was firm. It came from a guy named Lu Xiaohui. He warned Yankai that he'd gone too far. The martial school had rules. Yankai turned, annoyed, but when he saw who it was, he smirked. He excused his actions by saying he was just carrying out orders from the Zhao family's third young master. That surprised Xiaohui. Yankai pressed further, taunting him. Was he going to follow the school's rules or the orders of the Zhao family? Xiaohui was silent. Yankai and his men burst into laughter, mocking him. They reminded him that the Zhao family had taken him and his father in, that without them he'd be nothing. They called him a loser, a dog, and dared him to prove otherwise. Yankai sneered and reminded Xiaohui that his father was still at the Zhao estate. If Xiaohui said something nice, something obedient, maybe he'd consider putting in a good word for him. The moment Xiaohui heard that, his resolve wavered. He clenched his fists, lowered his head, and apologized. He didn't care what happened to himself, but he had to protect his father. That only made Yankai and his cronies laugh harder. They mocked him, calling him Lu the lapdog. While Yankai was basking in his own cruelty, a sudden poof broke the moment. Someone spat right on his face. It was Jicheng. Even while battered and bloodied, he managed a dry laugh. He said he couldn't stand watching pathetic tricks anymore. It was too embarrassing to witness. Yankai snapped. He slammed his foot down on Libo's already twisted arm. Libo let out a loud, agonizing scream. Jicheng flinched and immediately turned toward him. Yankai smirked. He taunted Jicheng, daring him to keep playing the hero. He swore he wouldn't even touch him, he'd just make his friend suffer instead. Jicheng's glare sharpened. He shouted for Yansai to come at him instead. Yansai grinned, drunk on power. He reminded them that no one was coming to save them. Instructor Hu was nowhere in sight. They were completely alone. But the moment those words left his mouth, bam! 2 of Yankai's men were suddenly sent flying through the air like ragdolls. Yankai whipped around, stunned. A figure stood under the moonlight. It was Shui. His eyes scanned the surroundings, and welcomed by the battered bodies of his friends. His jaw clenched, his fists trembled, and then the air around him shifted. Heat rolled off him like a furnace. Flames flickered from his shoulders. He was furious. With a voice like iron, he vowed to knock out every last one of Yankai's teeth. Unbeknownst to them, Brother Hu and his master, Yang Dongxiong, quietly observed everything from the rooftop. Hu lowered his head in shame, admitting that it was his fault. He had gotten too excited after breaking through the blood barrier and ended up drinking too much. By the time he sobered up, it was already too late to stop the bullying. He didn't expect Xiao Hui to just stand by and do nothing. But Master Yang calmly replied that while Xiao Hui may appear cold-blooded, he saw it differently. Xiao Hui cared, but he had been held back by fear. That fear, Yang said, is the very reason he hasn't broken through the blood barrier. A warrior without courage is like a body without breath. Hu looked at his master. He asked if they should intervene. After all, Shui had only just entered the martial hall, and Yankai was already nearing the skin barrier. Logically, there was no way Shui could win. But Master Yang raised a hand to stop him. He was curious. He said the boy's blood energy was interesting. Back on the ground, Yankai sneered and challenged if Shui really thought he could break his teeth. Shui clenched his fist and confidently responded. He already said he would. He then charged forward with determination. Yankai scoffed and yelled at his men to handle him. One thug lunged. Shui kicked him aside like it was nothing. Another threw a punch. Shui dodged, then countered with a clean hit to the face. A third attack came in, and he was called a damn brat. But Shui's punch shut him up mid-sentence. Shui glared at Yankai and stepped forward. Yankai growled and claimed that beating a few nobodies didn't make them equals. Dispersing blood energy was only the first sign of reaching the skin barrier, but when he looked into Shui's eyes, he hesitated. That glare wasn't normal. Yankai attacked with a punch. Shui blocked it with his forearm, slammed a kick into his side, and followed it up with a crushing blow to the jaw. Our MC landed another hit right in the bastard's face. Yankai stumbled, coughing up blood. Shui stood tall, breathing steady. He stared Yankai down with calm disdain. Yankai's eyes widened with rage. He reached into his robe and pulled out a knife. He stabbed Shui while calling him a stinky fisherman. He pulled out the knife and stabbed him again while telling him that no one has his back, especially when he doesn't have a father to count on. Shui blocked the knight with his hand. He muttered that Yankai is truly disgraceful. He raised his fist while calling him a despicable coward. He landed a powerful punch on his face that made the ground shatter. He breathed heavily. Yankai got scared of him and told him to stay away. He asked Xiao Hui if he isn't going to do anything when he is an instructor, and the brat is attacking his fellow disciple. That puts Xiao Hui in a pinch. Suddenly, a sword was thrown at them while someone told them that it was enough. It was the sword of Master Yang. He appeared with Hu. Then he uttered that Yankai, Dingyi, Wailong, Kuji, all 6 of them are no longer welcome at the martial school. Then he told Xiao Hui to go to the confinement room and he'll deal with him later. Xiao Hui simply replied yes. Shui was surprised to see Master Yang, who stares back at him. Shui was worried that with his grave mistake, he'd be evicted from the school. He felt bitter upon remembering what Yankai said, that he had no one to count on. He realized that in the end, his efforts weren't enough. Master Yang asked if his name was Liang Chu. He replied yes. Then, unexpectedly, the master offered him to become his direct disciple. He was truly surprised. When he lifted his head, he saw the master extending his hand to him. At the Yang residence, the servants were buzzing with gossip about the master accepting a 9th disciple, a handsome young man, they said. A girl called out to Shui and handed him ceremonial robes prepared by his senior brothers and sisters. She mentioned that the ladies would help him dress, but he politely declined and asked them to step out so he could change on his own. The girl let out a soft giggle before leaving. Once alone, Shui sighed. It had been 2 weeks since he defeated Yankai. His injuries and those of Ji and Libo had mostly healed thanks to Master Yang's treatment. He realized that he was no longer alone. Now he had a master, fellow disciples, and real backing. His path to revenge against the Zhao family was finally within reach. Hu's excited voice filled the hall as he recounted the night of Yankai's defeat. He told Xu Zishuai, the 4th senior brother, and Xiang Changsong, the 8th, how someone who had just entered the martial school for 1 day managed to beat a fighter on the verge of breaking through the skin barrier. Xu Zishuai sighed and noted that Hu had repeated the same story for 2 weeks. Song teased that if Hu liked Shui that much at first glance, maybe their little junior truly was a dragon among men. Then Chao Rang, the 6th brother, and Zhou Xiaoqin, the 5th sister, joined them. Xiaoqin teased Xu Zishuai, asking what gift he had given the new junior. Xu Zishuai proudly answered that he'd gifted him a whole tungsten steel arm guard as a small token. Yun Dun, the 2nd brother, and Lu Gang, the 3rd, entered next. Hu jumped in, reminding everyone not to tease the 4th brother too much. He'd worked hard to save up for that gift. Then Hu noticed that their little junior walked out of the room. Shui's cloak swayed as he turned. He was now dressed in his ceremonial robe, definitely looking dashing. He greeted his older sister and brothers, and warmly thanked them for their thoughtful gifts. Lu Gang mentioned he hadn't given his gift yet. He announced that he had prepared something special, a fine piece of tungsten steel, and told Shui to visit his shop any time to request a weapon of his choice. Our MC gladly accepted. With everyone having given their gifts, they agreed to head to the main hall so as not to keep the master and mistress waiting. Meanwhile, at Zhao Manor, someone approached the master. The report came in. Xiaoxing's body had been found. But what shocked them was that something inside his stomach was missing. The master's face twisted in fury. He slapped Zheng hard across the face and called him a useless fool. If word got out, it would bring enormous trouble. He warned them that if the authorities came knocking, they better be ready to offer their heads in apology. Zheng, scrambling to shift the blame, pointed fingers at Shui. He assumed Shui killed Xiaoxing and let whatever was inside him escape. Then the master mentioned he heard another piece of news. Shui had become Dongxiang's direct disciple. He scoffed and asked if Zheng wanted to test Dongxiang's blade himself. He told them he didn't care what methods they used. Just find that thing, whatever it takes. As for Shui, he was still deciding what to do about him. Back at Yang Manor, Master Yang sat beside Madame Yang, Xu Shi. He looked at Shui, who was kneeling before him, and acknowledged his qualities. Grateful, courageous, steady, diligent, and respectful. While the senior warriors watched, he offered to formally accept him as a disciple, if Shui was willing. Without hesitation, Shui expressed that he accepted. Master Yang laid out the expectations: humility, discipline, respect for elders, and loyalty to the sect. He continued by saying that he shall not harm his fellow disciples, no unrighteous acts, and never using strength to bully others. Shui bowed his head and responded that he understood. The master then said that from the moment he drank the ceremonial tea, he would be his direct disciple. And from that point on, no one may insult or bully him again, because he would have his master as his shield. Shui smiled and accepted his place in the sect. The shirtless men trained under the sun, drenched in sweat. When the instructor gave them a half-hour break, they practically collapsed from exhaustion. While resting, they chatted about Master Yang's new personal disciple. They called it a true rags-to-riches story. But the part they found most satisfying, Yankai and his gang being kicked out of the martial school, even with his supposed big-time backer. Not far from them, Shui Yuan overheard everything. Just the mention of Shui made his expression darken. Meanwhile, inside one of the rooms, Shui asked Hu about the 4 barriers and 7 paths. He knew the barriers, but was clueless about the 7 paths. Curiosity had gotten the better of him. Hu explained, the 7 paths were named Galloping Horse, Wolf Smoke, Tiger Hunting, Stomping Elephant, Heavenly Dragon, Furnace, and Transcendent Rainbow. In the Galloping Horse realm, a person could stop a stampede of horses without moving. The wolf smoke realm ignited one's spirit like a rising wolf's signal fire, creating momentum as fierce as a pack of wolves. Tiger hunting realm let one's strength erupt so violently that even the bravest warriors felt like helpless prey. At stomping elephant, every move could shake the ground, worthy of battlefield legends. In the heavenly dragon realm, one soared like a dragon. They could leap 3,000 meters with ease and were hailed as martial saints. Hu admitted he knew little about the furnace realm and transcendent rainbow, but those who reached those heights were considered near divine, having stepped into the realm of ascension. Shui fell into deep thought. The power these martial realms offered was staggering. He wondered, if he reached ascension, could he return to his original world? He then asked Hu about their master's strength. Hu replied with a question of his own. Did Shui know how many martial schools were in Pingyang? Shui answered, 3. Hu explained that while the other schools could only afford to operate there, their master chose to stay in Pingyang because it was his hometown. And the real reason why Yang School was unmatched each year? Master Yang was the only person in Pingyang to reach the tiger hunting realm. Shui was stunned, and in his mind, he felt that with the help of the system, he could reach that level even faster. Hu wrapped up the morning lesson, reminding him not to rush. Progress takes balance, tension and relaxation working together. Shui nodded, appreciating the advice. Now that pressure from the Zhao family had eased, Shui set a new goal: capture a mystic fish, break through the skin barrier, and become a true martial artist. So he went to the lake. With Sleepyhead's help, they caught plenty of fish, so many that the boat felt too small. He considered upgrading to a bigger one. Still, he was a little disappointed. No mystic fish this time. He checked his fusion rate, 37%. Close, but not quite enough. Then, a red feather drifted down beside him. The water suddenly began to swirl beneath the boat, and a loud sound echoed through the stillness. He had no idea what the creature in front of him was. A massive red bird let out a sharp chirp. Suddenly, a huge toad lunged at the bird, trying to swallow it whole. But the bird easily flung the toad back into the lake. The impact caused a huge wave, like a tsunami. The surge washed away all the fish on Shui's boat. His vessel was wrecked, and Shui got thrown into the lake. The red bird let out another powerful chirp. The sound wave hit him hard. His body went numb as he slowly sank beneath the surface. Everything faded to black. Later, he regained consciousness. The first thing he saw was Fist, the little crab, staring at him. He blinked, realizing he passed out, again, and once more his pets had saved him. He recalled the bird's screech and how it knocked him out cold. That spirit beast was terrifying, and whatever creature had captured it, one must be even worse. He lay there on the grass, exhausted, muttering to himself. The trip was a complete failure. The boat? Gone. The fish? Gone. His plan to break through the skin barrier? Postponed. Then Sleepyhead approached. Shui asked what was wrong. The little beast opened its mouth. Inside was a crimson scholar perch. Shui's morale rose. With this, he might still be able to break through. Blood energy reflects a martial artist's physical strength, but having strong blood energy doesn't automatically make someone powerful. It's the opposite. Because their body is strong enough, they're able to generate and condense that energy. In short, blood energy isn't the source of strength, it's the result of it. But once it's there, it feeds back into the body, making it stronger, a cycle that builds upon itself. At home. Incense burned softly. Shui sat in meditation, waiting for his meal to finish cooking. The scent drifted around him. It was the concentration incense given by Hu, said to help martial artists break through barriers more easily. To become a true martial artist, he needed to break through the Pi Gate, and that meant tempering the blood energy concentrated in his chest. Each time he trained, he would replenish his blood with nourishing fish meat. He was already on his 38th attempt. Still no breakthrough. Hu had explained it before. To break through the Pi Gate, one must use the inner force of blood and qi to stimulate the skin and fascia, refining the outer shell of the body. Qi and blood were like the life essence of the body. the energy he felt circulating when he practiced. When his blood energy stirred, it fused with qi, flowed through his limbs, reached his skin, and radiated as heat. This was the process of skin refinement. Shui could feel it. His heartbeat raced, his breathing grew heavy. Attempt number 40, still short. He checked his status. Fusion rate, 49%. But he had a strong feeling. At 50%, something big would happen. He finished his fish meat. The lotus root barely had any effect now. Time to head to the lake again and catch another mystic fish. As he looked in the window, he noticed that it was already dawn. Then he heard a knocking. As he opened the door, he was surprised to see two men waiting. Chen Cheng, Jichang's father, and Li Dekang, Libo's father. They had seen him come home late recently, so they came to check on him. Shui asked Uncle Li what was going on. He looked confused. Dakang explained that his son hadn't come home for 2 days. He asked if Shui had seen him. Was he still at the Marshall Hall or out getting into trouble? Chung nodded, saying his son was missing too, so he hoped Shui might know something. Shui replied that he came home late, so he forgot to tell them, but the three of them actually performed well and caught the attention of the marital instructors. He informed them that they had specifically set aside a room in the courtyard for them, so they have been staying there to focus on their training. But the truth is, those two are scared to go back home since their injuries haven't fully healed. That made the fathers feel relieved and proud of their sons. Then they informed Shui that the village is organizing another river god sacrificial ceremony. He remembered that custom, but as far as he knew, they already held it 3 months ago. Chung uttered that the river god showed a divine sign yesterday, so they had to hold another ritual. Dekang shared that the river god jumped out of the river and caught a flaming giant bird that had even shattered the sky. Shui realized that they're talking about the toad that he saw. He replied that he understands and will contribute money and participate when the time comes. They told him not to forget. At the lake, particularly inside the lotus cave, Shui leapt out of the water. He kept leaping. Then he dove in the water. Sleepyhead was already at his back, ready to eat him. He hit it with his stick. The amount of water he can control is roughly 150, and he can compress it into 10 liters, meaning each liter can unleash 15 kilograms of force. He focused until his eyes glowed. Then he swung his stick, and that ended their training. As the two cronies rest, he thought that his strength underwater has already surpassed Pygate. He could take on 4 Yankai with ease. He then checked his status. He wanted to use the water blade technique, but he needs to have a proper weapon suited for it. He remembered that the third senior brother mentioned that their world has a weapon called Spirit Weapon, and they can self-repair and level up. But he knew that such weapons usually require rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures to forge in their cores. He wished to get a weapon like that. He heard someone say that it's hot and something is burning. He asked Fatty what it found. Fatty pointed at something. Shui asked if it was buried under the rubble. When he removed the rocks, he saw a red feather. He assumed that it must have fallen from the giant bird. But this feather looked special. As he stared at the feather, he wondered if it came from the same bird yesterday. He wondered if it could be some kind of rare treasure, as it looked really valuable. Since he was already heading to Brother Gang's blacksmith shop, Shui decided to ask him about it. In Pingyang County, he walked through the streets, scanning for the shop. As he walked, he noticed smoke rising high into the sky. It wasn't far. He made a mental note to ask his senior brother about it once they met. Soon, he arrived at Lumin's blacksmith shop. The sound of hammering rang through the air. Gang noticed Shui walking in and greeted him. Shui told him that while he was out fishing, he came across something interesting and wanted Gang's thoughts on it. He handed over the crimson fire molt feather. Gang's eyes widened in surprise. He said it was a real treasure. Shui asked if he recognized it. The blacksmith answered yes and stated that it was an amazing find. Gang explained that it was a feather from the crimson fire bird, a rare spirit beast. When the bird is in danger, it pours all of its life essence into a single feather and scatters the rest. It's like how some animals discard their tail to escape. But this bird sheds its entire body. One of those feathers will hold the most life essence. the scarlet fire gold feather, which allows it to be reborn. Excited, Shui asked if the one he found was the golden feather. Gang shook his head. What Shui had was a fire remnant feather, not the gold one. Still, it was a great find. Shui felt a bit disappointed. He asked what he should do with it. Gang suggested forging it into a spiritual weapon and asked if Shui had any weapon in mind. Shui already had something planned. After battling the stone crab, he realized that a polearm would work well underwater. It also matched the techniques he was developing. So, he chose a spear. Gang was surprised by the choice. Spears were rare at their martial school. They offered reach but were harder to control. Still, Shui was certain. He respectfully asked Gang to turn the feather into a spear. He was thrilled to finally have a spiritual weapon of his own. Gang promised to send word once it was ready. Shui thanked him, then brought up the smoke he had seen earlier. Gang's face turned serious. He said it was from Fawa Temple. A fire had broken out that morning. But what was more alarming, something appeared in the flames. Shui asked what it was. Gang replied, mountain demons. Creatures with human-like bodies and hair, but they moved like beasts. They had sharp teeth and terrifying eyes. Near the Fawa Temple, a woman hurriedly ran. Bruises and dirt could be seen on her face. Another thing to take note of, she was pregnant. She begged for help. Just by the entrance of a temple, a young monk was sweeping. He immediately heard the call for help. The woman begged him to save her. Then suddenly she passed out. Her eyes slowly shut as the monk tried to call her. 2 monks stayed by her bedside. Eventually she woke up. They called her Amitabha and was glad that she had awakened. She asked where she was, and the monk told her that she's at Fawa Temple. Then they inquired what happened to her. She replied that she's originally from Huazhu County. 3 months ago, she came to Pingyang to visit some relatives, but something happened unexpectedly. She was attacked by a group of mysterious bandits. Then she was blindfolded and taken to a strange place. When they took off her blindfold, she saw the hellish place. The people inside were tortured into fiendish ghosts. Most people there are skin and bones, and pregnant. Their stomach had a marking on it. The old monk asked if she was kidnapped for ransom. Frantic, the woman replied, no. She was horrified as she revealed that they were being used as materials for refining pills. In that hellish place, a man with what looked like a pregnant belly screamed out loud in pain. Several men in black cloaks stood around, chanting as the mark on her stomach began to glow. One of them pulled out a strange knife. Its handle looked like it was made of flesh. He raised it high, then stabbed the man. He screamed in agony. Something red and stringy like an intestine spilled out. The man held out his hands to catch it. Then he held what looked like a red orb. One of the cloaked men named A. Liang told a brother Lin that it's truly bizarre. He asked what those things in the bellies are. Lin Guiyang replied that it's the fetal pearl elixir crafted by the Lord Envoy. He explained that those people first fed a broth made from mountain ghost flesh. Regardless of gender, their bellies will swell, carrying flesh lumps. In 3 months, these flesh lumps develop into fetal pellets. Several of them can be refined into fetal pearl pills, which are said to grant immortality upon consumption. A. Liang asked what will happen if it exceeds 3 months. He replied that if left for more than 3 months without extraction, they will hatch. A. Liang asked what it would hatch into. Guiyang, wearing a horrified expression, suggested that A. Liang wouldn't want to know. Back at the temple, the young monk named Ji Ming was told that his senior brother had gone to the city to report it to the authorities. He was tasked to deliver the vegetarian meal to the woman. He replied yes and brought the food. He peeked and asked if she's there. It was quiet when he walked in, so he assumed that she was asleep. Then he noticed something. He was stepping on a pool of blood. He turned pale. The woman was dirty and bleeding. He froze at the sight of the horrifying scene. He thought it was the woman. Then he asked who that person on the bed was. The woman was actually dead on the bed. Her face was smeared with blood, her eyes wide open. Jiming dropped the tray and screamed out loud when he saw it. Then blood was dropped in his bald head. He checked the ceiling and saw a monster with green eyes, pointy teeth, with flesh wrapped in its neck like a necklace staring at him. It was creepy. The blood dripped from the flesh on its neck. In the forest trail, the monk walked ahead, leading 2 guards and Xiao Hui. The guards thanked Xiao Hui for joining the investigation. Without him, they would have needed their boss to send someone. Xiao Hui replied to Officer Wang that there was no need for such formality. He said that helping out was something expected from the warriors of their martial arts school. But in truth, Zheng had secretly instructed him to go to Fahua Temple to help cover up some bodies and retrieve certain things. When Xiao Hui asked what kind of things, Zheng only said he'd understand when he saw them. The monk informed them they were close. He led them to his home, the Fahua Temple. The atmosphere felt eerie. As he opened the gates, the 3 men turned pale. Corpses, bloodied and scattered, filled the temple grounds. They immediately asked what happened. The monk rushed toward one of the bodies. It was his master. He tried to save him. Officer Wang told Xiaolo to follow the monk and check things out carefully. They observed the bodies. Most of them had large bite marks. It looked like they were attacked by a huge insect. But they questioned whether such a thing even existed. None of the corpses were whole. It was a grisly sight. Xiao Hui couldn't believe that these were the few bodies Zheng had mentioned. He also noticed something in the bloodstains. Then Officer Wang remarked that it seemed like bodies had been dragged. They followed the smears and found Luo and the monk standing at the end of it. It was inside the towering temple, inside the room. What they saw was terrifying. All of them turned pale. Officer Wang asked what those things were. Xiao Hui wondered, is this what Zheng meant for him to retrieve? At the center, sitting atop a pile of corpses, was a giant pulsating egg. The monk started chanting a prayer. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. Officer Wang knocked, calling out, asking who was there. Xiao Hui told him to forget the door. The real problem was the egg. Wang turned to him and asked, what are those things? Xiao Hui replied that they were mountain demon eggs, the mark of the Mother Phantom sect. That name made Officer Wang break into a cold sweat. He asked, the Mother Phantom sect? As in, the remnants of the ancient dynasty? Xiao Hui nodded and explained. When a mountain demon hatches and feeds on enough flesh and blood, it prepares for its second phase. Once the nest is complete, it evolves. He added that once it hatches, the demon will have the strength of an unbridled stallion. Officer Wang looked overwhelmed. Then, a hand burst through the egg, its claws pierced to the ground. Xiao Hui declared, that's the second phase. An enormous demon with long limbs came out of the egg. The monk continued to pray as the demon crawled out from its shell. Then it rushed forward and bit the monk in the chest. Luo, in panic, shouted for the little monk's name. He was about to unsheath his sword, but Officer Wang held him back, telling him to wait. The demon turned to face them. It grabbed Luo's face. Officer Wang tried to intervene with his sword, but the demon slashed him first and threw him across the room. Luo cried out for Xiao Hui to help him. But the warrior stood frozen. He hadn't broken through the 4 barriers, and now he was staring at a creature with the strength of a wild stallion. His instinct screamed at him to run, to use all his strength to break through the door and escape, but he hesitated. If this thing escaped, the town would suffer. The demon opened its mouth. Layers of razor-sharp teeth lined its jaw. Luo trembled in fear. Xiao Hui told himself. He always lived this way. He had to survive first. Turn a blind eye to everything else. This will keep his father safe. But now, he couldn't stand that version of himself. Luo was still begging him to help. Xiao Hui finally changed his decision. He slowly drew his sword. The demon turned to him. Then it dropped Luo and faced him head-on. Xiao Hui tightened his grip. This was it. Today, he would find out exactly how powerful an unbridled stallion really was. Then a flashback was shown. A kid declared that one day he would become a great hero like Yang Dongjiang, who would dominate the 4 corners of the world. It was Xiao Hui. A little girl was impressed by him. He told her that when he arrived in the city with his dad, they would work at Zhao's mansion, and he saw it as his big chance. He dreamed of joining Yang's martial arts school, earning Zhao's favor, and eventually becoming a great hero. The girl truly believed in him. But what actually happened was different. He was mocked by a young Shui Yuan for wanting to join the martial arts school. He was called a useless, motherless brat and was told he'd rot in a corner with his sick old man. In a small house, someone coughed. His father, thin and sickly but kind, treated his wounds. Xiao Hui explained that it was the others who picked the fight. His father kept coughing but reminded him, "Respect your elders, be kind to the young, and always be willing to learn." Xiao Hui pouted and said he knew that already. Above all, his father wanted him to become someone he could be proud of. Then Xiao Hui asked himself, what would Master Yang do? He remembered when he became Yang's disciple. He was taught one must stay humble, modest, and open-minded. Back to the present, as he came face to face with the monster, he recalled the full teaching. Do not be arrogant or boastful, and never look down on others. Then he charged forward. He kept reciting their creed. Honor your parents, respect your siblings, never hurt your fellow disciples, obey your parents, do no evil. He slashed the beast and thought, anyone who enters the school must promote good and eliminate evil. One must be just and valiant. He continued attacking the demon, but it kept dodging. He added, never abuse strength to oppress the weak. During the fight, a candle fell and burned a book. Xiao Hui remembered a man at the market when he was younger. He was encouraged to play the guessing game where he'll choose which cup has the item. The man then shared his admiration to the martial arts school head, Master Yang, and he listened. Back in the present, his fight with the demon raged on. He blocked an attack with his sword. He slashed, stabbed, and spun. His sword gleamed, shining brilliantly like gold and sapphire. Xiao Hui was determined to end the life of this monster. The man in the market continued his teachings, how Master Yang stood alone against monsters. The demon then bit off his arm, but his other hand still gripped the sword tightly. The image of the cup game flashed in his mind. It was a symbol of uncertainty, not knowing what comes next. And in that burning room, with everything collapsing around him, Xiao Hui drove his sword into the demon's chest. He just couldn't let it escape. He injured the monster as much as he could, and he figured out that its strength is not at par with an unbridled stallion. Luo, who's almost engulfed by fire, assured him that he did the right thing and called him a great hero. That amused him, since he knew that there are many who are more of a great hero than he is. Shui came to his mind when he said that. When he was young, Shui Yuan ordered him to break the teeth of the younger children. And if he doesn't, he's the one who's going to have his teeth broken. He towered over those children. He had a grim expression on his face. He felt sorry. But he wanted to stand out and become someone superior, outside the temple. Several officials arrived and saw the burnt building. One official found the remains and called out the other's attention. Their heart was tugged at what they saw. It was a charred figure frozen in the stance of a man plunging his sword into a writhing demon. They stared in silence, wondering who the swordsman was. Beside the figure, they spotted a golden badge. One of the men picked it up. A single letter was engraved on it. A memory flashed back. When Xiao Hui was a boy, he shared his food. With the smaller kids, he was meant to beat up. They asked why he helped them. Bruised and missing teeth, Xiao Hui grinned at them. I'm a great hero, he said. I'll never bully the weak. At the Zhao residence, an echoing insult roared. Master Zhao kicked Zheng and called him stupid. He was furious that Zheng acted on his own. He demanded if Zheng even understood the disaster it would be if the truth about the temple got out. Zheng tried to explain. He said it was an emergency, and there was no choice. The day they saw the woman escape, they followed her, but he didn't expect her to run straight to the temple. When they got there, blood was everywhere. He explained that that was the reason he sent Xiao Hui to the authorities, to help stop the monster that had emerged. After that, they rushed to the Sutra Tower. They sealed the door, and they set it on fire to destroy the evidence. Master Zhao yanked Zheng's ear and called him an idiot. He shouted that a single fire wouldn't be enough unless it burned for 3 days and nights to turn everything to ash, and they didn't have time for that. Then someone shouted, a voice filled with contempt. He called them all fools and told them they were all responsible. Because they failed to watch that woman, the sect suffered a great loss. To the Supreme Mother, they had shown no devotion. A man in a black cloak trembled as the speaker stepped forward, long fingernails glinting. He declared that punishment was due. Then, with one swift move, he grabbed the cloaked man's head and crushed it. Blood sprayed everywhere. He calmly stated that this was the Supreme Mother's will. Zheng and Master Zhao were horrified. The old man turned to Master Zhao. He said that thanks to his past contributions, the Supreme Mother would continue to protect him, but he said that he shouldn't forget that they were in this together. Master Zhao nodded quickly. He promised to take care of everything. Then the old man looked at Zheng and asked if he truly planned to abandon the son he had kept hidden all this time. Zheng dropped to his knees and bowed. He swore it would never happen again. The old man thanked them both and left the building. Zhao exhaled deeply. Zheng whispered that they were openly being threatened. Zhao replied that there was nothing they could do. If not for the inheritance, he'd never tolerate that dead old man. But he admitted it was fortunate, because Zheng had been clever enough to let the monster grow in that woman's belly and feed it with all the temple monks. So, they actually killed all of the monks first to give it to that monster. If they hadn't, they would have never had a chance like that. Since everything is moving forward, Zhao thinks it's almost time to escape. It's because the people on the court are already on the move. He planned to escape to Huangzhou when the Fanhua Temple incident was wrapped up. He had a business there, so he plans to settle there as he became an immortal. And he can easily continue preparing Zhao's fetal sphere pill because there's no one in there like Dongsheng. And for them to avoid being chased by the government, it was best to minimize the problems. Outside the village of Yixing, our MC didn't expect Xiao Hui to end up in that situation. He also heard from Libo that Xiao Hui stood up for justice. He can tell that he's a good person, but it made him wonder why he was in the Fanhua Temple. He knew from Brother Lu that the martial school didn't receive any call for help from the court that day. Shui was concerned with the monster. He wished that it was really dead. Then a few moments later, someone recognized him. It was Uncle Cheng Qingjiang. Shui asked him what had happened. Uncle Cheng told him to go home and see for himself. He added that a crowd had gathered outside his house. He released the uncles, and in the distance, a giant centipede can be seen. A demon spoke and uttered immortality. It ate the insects while it set its eyes on Shui. There's a saying that everyone says that the past of great men is always full of suffering and pain, that the more suffering one endures, the greater they become. But someone yelled that it was bullshit. He cursed again. It was Jie Chengquan. He's experiencing what it meant to be fucking broken. He complained that it was too much suffering. His son Dingy begged him to stop now since he had been lying there for half an hour already. He was lying on a wooden plank with his hands tied in front. He questioned why they have to put in so much effort because of that bratty freshman. That made his father spank his butt using a wooden stick. His father called him ungrateful and compared himself to his son. He stated that he was clever and capable since he was young, so he questioned how he ended up with a fool like him. Dingy cried out loud and begged him to stop hitting, but funnily, his father told him that he'll beat him up to death. Little did they know that they were being watched. A woman and a man hid behind a door and watched them through the small crack. The woman expressed that she had her hopes when that brat entered that dojo, but he caused trouble and different people were showing up at their doorstep. It was Shui's aunt. She added that they didn't even lend him a grain before, and yet he comes to visit the man. The man named Liang Guangtian yelled at her, calling her a stupid old woman. He told her that she doesn't know a thing. He uttered that the grain won't be returned just like what Shui's father did. The woman tried to calm her husband down. They saw that the brat came back. Cheng Xuan could still be heard saying that he'll beat the crap out of his son. Shui was surprised to see them. He asked what they were doing in front of his house. Dingy called him a filthy fisherman. Cheng Xuan ran to him and assumed that he's Shui. He flattered him saying that he's handsome, graceful, and calm, and he could see why Master Yang chose him as a direct disciple. A lot of people heard that. Master Yang was known by everyone after all. One of the people from the crowd stated that being a direct disciple is being like an adopted son, where the son had to pay respects to Master Yang like his own father. It was a big deal that Shui had joined the dojo of Master Yang, since even the magistrate bows at the master. People were impressed how valuable Master Yang is. They crowd over Shui and sing praises for him, which also made Cheng Xuan angrier at his stupid son for doing something so dirty and disgusting. He stated that if Shui decides to kill his son at once, he won't stop him. Shui had a devilish grin on his face when he asked if he could beat him as much as he liked. Dingyi starts to cower while Shui approaches and says that he's not resentful, but he knows that if he bottles up anger, he won't live long. With that look on his face, he'd definitely take advantage of the situation, but he subtly expressed it by saying that everyone wants to live longer. Dingyu cried and begged him. He admitted that he was wrong and he'd serve him like an ox if he just forgave him just once. He was scared. Shui tapped the wooden stick on the ground and replied that he'll let it go since it's all in the past. He empathized that Dingyi suffered enough, and in the end, he wasn't the main culprit. He was truly grateful for him. Then someone told him to wait. Dingyi panicked because he thought it would encourage more beating. Instead, Cheng Xuan stated that he doesn't want to be shameless since Shui had been generous to him. He offered him 100 silver taels. The crowd's jaws dropped. It was their first time seeing one. Suddenly, Shui's uncle came out from hiding and told everyone to step aside because Shui is his nephew. Then he introduced himself to Cheng Xuan as the only blood relative of Shui. Then he volunteered to discuss the money issue with him. The crowd laughed at him and told him to be ashamed. They reminded him that when Shui was starving, he wouldn't even open his door for him. Someone agreed and added that now there's money. He suddenly steps up to be his uncle and even dares to say, "beloved." It makes them want to puke. He argued with those people. He even said that Shui wouldn't be where he is today if not for him. While the commotion was happening, Cheng Xuan asked Shui who that person was. Shui replied that he doesn't know him. In the original soul memories, that so-called uncle was nothing more than a parasite, like a leech sucking his blood. Shui told Cheng Xuan that if he really wants to help, there would be a festival for the river god in a few days, and aside from what the rich provide, each young man has to give 100 copper coins. He suggested that he cover that part so the villagers could have a good new year, and if he could, he should offer a few days of free meals to beggars in town. Hearing that, the crowd rejoiced and thanked him. It made them think that he's a good person. He went inside his house, relieved that it was finally over. He stretched his arms and noticed that the last time he trained in the dojo, he felt like his skin had reached its limit. It wasn't just a tight sensation, but more of an expansion. And he thinks he'll break through the skin barrier soon. He poured some water, dipped his hand in it while thinking that it was the last step. But it was the most dangerous. The fever it causes can damage the brain if not properly controlled. That's why he needs physical cooling. He submerged his body in the water and attempted to break through the barrier. The tub emits smoke, and that smoke covered him. He closed his eyes and concentrated. He could feel the wind swirling around him. Eventually, he successfully broke through the skin barrier. He formed a water ball in his hand. In his estimate, his water control capacity is already 250 kilograms. It was a significant increase compared to before. But he got concerned since the fusion with the system hasn't improved. He checked his status, then got dressed. He didn't expect breaking through the skin barrier to have such a big effect, and if he can surpass the 4 barriers, he expected to control a lot. He was glad that his 2 abilities complement each other. With half the effort, he now gets twice the results. He planned to go for a stroll, and just when he opened the door, it hit his Guangtian. Guangtian fell. His nose was red. He greeted his dear nephew. Shui asked him what was up. He replied that he was worried that he might go hungry and couldn't sleep peacefully, so he emptied his pantry and brought him rice. Shui told him to take the rice for himself since he didn't lack food anymore. In that world, rice was considered a valuable resource. Just as he was about to shut the door, Guangtian stopped him. Shui pushed the door anyway, and it slammed right into him. The nosy man stumbled and fell. Annoyed, Guangtian reminded him that he was his blood uncle. He claimed that because of that, the house should belong to him. He shouted that a man had offered a large sum for the house, and yet Shui refused. He called him crazy. The commotion began to draw a crowd. Guangtian then declared that Shui should use the money to support his cousin, Xiao Liu. He said that elders are like parents, and that he could be Shui's adopted father. Shui's expression darkened. He told him coldly that if he wanted to die, he was welcome to try him. Guangyan fell silent, stunned. Just minutes ago, Shui had seemed like a different person. He began yelling again, drawing more attention. He shouted that Shui had turned heartless ever since becoming a martial artist, that he didn't even recognize his own poor family anymore. He kept insisting he was his uncle, but he stopped yelling when someone spat on him. A woman stepped forward. She said that Guangtian had no right to call himself Shui's uncle. When Shui's father died, he didn't even help carry the coffin. When Shui had nothing to eat, he didn't offer a single coin. Another woman chimed in. She reminded everyone that when the family's assets were divided, if not for Guangtian's underhanded tricks, Shui's father would have ended up with more than just a boat. Guangtian argued back and threatened to slap her. The woman yelled that if he dared lay a hand on anyone, he'd be slapped first. Suddenly, someone hit him in the stomach with a walking stick. The one who struck him was the village chief, Chen Zhaowan. Furious, he scolded Guangtian for showing up now that Shui was doing well, just to take advantage. He called him an animal and said even animals had more dignity. He ordered him to leave and never come back. There were many village chiefs in Yingxing City, but Zhaowan was different. He was the patriarch of the Chen family, a highly respected man. Even Lord Jiao had to show his face. Shui thanked him and asked why he had come. Jiaowan said he wanted Shui to serve as the chief officiant for the upcoming river festival. The role of the chief officiant was like a grand priest, overseeing the entire ceremony. Jiaowan said it would be a great opportunity. He hoped that by the day of the festival, Shui would understand the favor of the river status. Shui accepted the role. Zhuan then told him to study and memorize the ritual texts over the next few days. The next morning, Shui noticed how bright the sun was. The flowers looked like they were smiling. Birds chirped in the trees. Still half asleep, he carried his school bag. He couldn't read many characters in this world yet, but since the village chief had given him a task, he had no choice. And just like that, Shui became a student again, in a world from the past. The next morning inside the academy, the teacher was reading the text aloud. Shui was told to attend school, but no one mentioned that it would be elementary school. A tattletale girl beside him raised her hand and told the teacher that Shui wasn't even opening his mouth. The teacher stopped reading. He shouted at Shui, accusing him of being arrogant. He reminded him that the academy was already doing him a favor by letting a brute like him enroll, only out of respect for his master. He said Shui should be grateful to be taught by someone as distinguished as him, especially with how little he knew. Shui began reciting. The girl beside him looked surprised. He kept going, and more people around him were impressed. Shui stood up and said he had already memorized the passage. As a top university student in his past life, memorizing something like that was nothing to him. The teacher stared at him in shock. Shui added that the method they were using to teach was too inefficient. That made the teacher furious. He shouted that these were sacred teachings passed down for generations. He accused Shui of looking down on tradition. He doubted someone like him could come up with anything better. Shui responded calmly. He said the academy's Fanqi method was effective, but overly complex and based on prior knowledge of characters. The method he developed, however, used symbols to represent pronunciation directly. He called it pinyin. Suddenly a man entered and said it was similar to Fanqi, but much simpler. That man was Si Hengyi, a teacher from the capital of the Great Shun dynasty. The students were stunned. Mr. Jiang, the teacher, immediately greeted him with respect. Time passed quickly as Hengyi examined Shui's method. He found it fascinating. Mr. Jiang, however, was outraged. He called it blasphemy and strongly rejected the idea. Hengyi explained that in the Great Shun dynasty, innovations were rewarded. Useful inventions could earn prize money, tax exemptions, or even a noble title. Shui saw this as a huge opportunity. He knew people would eventually notice how different he was. And the best way to avoid suspicion was to stand out on his own terms. Hengyi praised his exceptional talent and invited him to study under him. Mr. Jiang was in disbelief, but Hengyi looked at him and reminded him, there should be no distinction between scholars and warriors. That was what his own teacher had taught him. Mr. Zhang was speechless and worried how the higher-ups would react. Hengyi told him not to worry. He said, the questions his students dare not ask, he would ask them. And that the truths they cannot challenge, he would. Eventually, Shui bid farewell to his teacher. Meanwhile, under the lake, Sleepyhead was playing with a ball. Fist joined him. Fatty talked to them, but all that came out was a bubbly blub blub blub. He wanted to play too. When it was his turn to throw the ball, the ground suddenly shook. The ball smacked into Fist. Then it bounced and hit Fatty's stomach. A loud explosion erupted on the seabed. Fatty was knocked out. The other two stared ahead as massive rocks emerged. They stacked and rose, towering high above them. At nighttime, Shui dove under the lake. Sleepyhead had a big grin on its face. Our MC told Tiny Croc that in this race, it won. He then asked if that was the tunnel they dug. Sleepyhead pointed inside. Shui praised him. He swam in and saw the tunnel. It was bigger than he expected. Light came from the glowing vines above. There was more space up top. He touched a vine. It was soft. He tried to bite it, but he couldn't. He called for his pets to explore further with him. As he reached a new area, he realized something. There was no water, just air. The vines stretched into the air-filled space. Suddenly, an insect crawled on a rock behind Shui. It lunged at him, but it slammed into the rocks. Too slow, our MC teased. He had already spotted it earlier. It was a gigantic water centipede. It tried to attack again. But Fist moved first and clamped down on its pincers. Shui was impressed. He realized that First had grown a lot. The centipede tried to crawl away, but Fist grabbed its tail. It squirmed, trying hard to break free. Shui praised it once more, and the little crab puffed up with pride. Shui remembered hearing that water centipedes had a terrifying bite force, and they carried poison that even martial artists feared. If he could tame it, it would be a great hidden weapon. He still had one spirit link slot open. He grabbed a sharp rock, but it crumbled in his hand. His body had grown stronger after breaking through the barrier. As his blood dripped, he thought about asking Brother Lu for a dagger later. For now, he made a small cut on his finger. He reached out to the centipede that Fist held down. As soon as he touched it, a mark appeared. He was surprised by how fierce its resistance was. Warning signs flashed on his screen. Eventually, it calmed down. The system told him that he had subjugated it. He sighed in relief. It was strong, so he named it Awei. Then the system showed its stats. It was a heavenly water centipede, a mutated version. It was nourished by water spirit mushrooms and martial blood. It could evolve into a winged heavenly water centipede after collecting 10,000 water essence points. Shui was in shock. He muttered that every time he got a new pet, the cost kept rising. Then he asked where it found the water mushroom spirit. The centipede crawled toward a small entrance. Shui followed and shivered slightly. Inside, he saw a skeleton. The bones held a small wooden box. On the ground was a carved inscription. It said the man was once a general of Great Qian's navy. After their defeat, he was badly wounded and drifted here. Ashamed to face his emperor, he chose to end his life, sometime later. They all stood there, quietly observing the skeletons. Shui tried reading the inscription, but he couldn't recognize all the characters. Still, he figured the man didn't just drift there. He started wondering, was there an ancient battlefield nearby? And if so, were there any spiritual weapons left behind? Then he noticed the box containing the water spirit mushroom. He apologized to the skeleton if what he was about to do was disrespectful. He opened the box. There was one mushroom left. He figured Awei must have eaten the other earlier. Shui promised the skeleton that he'd bury his remains beneath a field of spiritual lotus. It was the least he could do. With hope in his eyes, he looked at the mushroom. This time, he had to break past 50%. He split some of it for his pets. Since Awei already had an entire one, he didn't get another share. The rest was for him. He took a bite. It was smooth and tender, just like tofu. It tasted good, and rewarded him with plus 26 water essence. It was even stronger than crab meat. He quickly decided to use all of it for upgrades. He He opened his status screen. Fusion level. Halfway complete. And with that, a new innate ability unlocked. Aqua Leap. His body glowed. Behind him, the image of a monkey spirit appeared again. He felt a strange sensation. A yellow-reddish core emerged from his chest, branching out from within. It began to grow in size. He respectfully bowed to the skeleton. Then, excited, he tried his new skill. When he leapt, his body transformed into water. Then, bam, he crashed straight into a boulder. So, that's how it works. It was a movement skill, but it burned stamina fast and was hard to control. His system then revealed that this Aqua Vault may evolve into a divine power called Aqua Mile Stride if he gained enough favor during the River Festival. Now his water control increased by another 150 kilograms, bringing it to 400 kilograms total. Definitely a big improvement. As for his creatures, each gained around 200 to 500 stat points. Taihua Crocodile needs 230 water essence to evolve into a horned crocodile. Six-whiskered catfish needs 210 water essence to evolve into a tiger-head catfish. Stone crab needs 7,600 water essence to evolve into the stone crab king. Looking at the stats, Shui couldn't help but wonder, how did Fatty surpass the others? Fatty got nervous, but Shui dismissed it. Probably just luck. He chuckled and let it go. With the River Festival coming in a week, Shui dedicated his time to studying under the master. He felt like Aqua Leap was somehow tied to the river's favor. 1 week later. Early winter. Libo came to pick him up for the River Festival. Shui called Ah Wei up. It slithered around his wrist, now resembling a blue bracelet. He opened the door, stepped outside, and gestured to Libo to head to the festival together. They made their way to the festival grounds. Suddenly, a little girl began crying. Her mother asked what was wrong. The girl pointed toward something. "There's a monster," she whimpered. Her mother told her to stop making things up. "There are no monsters in the village," she said. She tried to calm her with a promise of candy, but from behind a wall, a demon was peeking out. It whispered Shui's name. The drums thundered. Heads of sacrificial animals were brought forth. The shaman was called to resume their place. Then the chief priest was asked to begin. Shui looked and stepped up to the altar. The shaman announced the start of the ritual. Shui bowed and prayed to the river god, introducing himself as the one chosen by the people to carry their hopes, leading them in worship and offering tribute. Among the crowd, Libo and Ji Chang watched. Libo gazed at Shui, struck by how majestic he looked. So much so, it felt like he didn't know him anymore, even though they grew up together. He wondered quietly, is he still the same Shui? Unseen by most, a demon crawled over a rooftop. It locked its eyes on the altar. Shui spotted it. He recognized it instantly. The mountain demon his senior brother Lu had once described. Its cracked bark-like skin matched the records in the book. A little girl in the crowd noticed it too. Terrified, she tugged her mom and pointed. Everyone turned to see where she was pointing. Suddenly, the demon lunged straight toward the crowd. Shui shouted for everyone to scatter. In the chaos, the little girl lost sight of her mother. Her mom searched frantically. The mountain demon noticed the child. It leapt down toward her. She stood frozen, unaware. Shui saw what was happening, but he wasn't going to make it in time. Libo tried to save her. So did her mother. But it was Ji Chang who reached her first. He grabbed the girl and shielded her with his body as he crashed down the staircase. The demon cornered them. Libo quickly pulled out his dagger, grateful for all the training he'd done. He hurled it. The demon saw it coming and dodged. Then it turned and charged at Ji Chang. Libo panicked. He knew he wouldn't reach them in time. The monster was just inches away when Ji Chang's face turned pale. He shouted at Shui, "If you've got tricks, now's the time!" Suddenly the demon froze, wrapped in water. That instant, Shui used the Aqua Mile Stride. He surged forward and slammed the monster's head into the ground. Panting, he was relieved. He made it just in time. Earlier, from Shui's point of view, He saw the monster closing in on Jia Chang. He knew he wouldn't make it in time. But then he spotted the ritual pot filled with water from the Grand Lake. He remembered that Aquastride required a water medium, so he decided to create that condition himself. He raised the water. It swirled into a vortex. Ji Chang saw the water spiral, and in the blink of an eye, Shui appeared beside them. He slammed the monster down. The impact cracked the ground beneath them. That's how he made it in time. Ji Chang, still wide-eyed, wanted to ask how, but Shui quickly told him to take the girl and run. Ji Chang didn't argue. He got up, lifted the child, and promised he'd be back. Shui turned back to the fight, wondering, why was that thing even here? As the dust settled, he noticed the demon had vanished. It was right behind him. He sensed it just in time, blocking its claw with his arms. He gritted his teeth. Its strength was no joke. It attacked again and again, but Shui moved with precision, dodging each swipe. Then he saw an opening. Our MC landed a clean punch. Libo and Ji Chang returned to support him. Libo pulled out his knife. The monster stabbed Shui, but Shui grabbed its arm to hold it still. He told them not to slash wildly. Go for the joints, he instructed. Both lunged and stabbed at its hip. It screeched. Shui taunted it, scoffing at how it thought it could kill him that easily. Then he kicked it square in the face. It flew backward. He called for Ah Wei. The centipede unwrapped from his wrist and launched forward, biting deep into the monster's neck. Its poison, lethal. Shui trusted it. Villagers began emerging, witnessing the battle. Then the demon turned to them. They were stunned, didn't know what to do next, but Shui wouldn't allow it to hurt anyone. He grabbed a nearby wooden stake. With a strong throw, he hurled it toward the monster. It struck the blade still stuck in its body, driving it deeper. The demon was finally in Shui's control. It twitched, muttering about immortality and Shui's name. The villagers murmured in fear. They didn't hear it clearly, but it was unsettling. Ji Chang noticed the crowd growing anxious. Libo muttered that if this kind of thing kept up, no one would be able to live peacefully. Shui turned to them calmly. He said it was a gift, more specifically a blessing for Yixing village. He took the demon's blade. Then with one clean cut, he sliced its head off. At the village ritual grounds, the monster's head was served together with the other animal sacrifices. The villagers gathered around the monster's body. As he tried to change into new clothes, the village's doctor praised his physique. Our MC just smiled and asked the man that if he could just look into his wounds, that would be perfect. The doctor then asked what material was used for his cloak and robe. Shui explained. The cloak was a gift from his second senior brother, made of dog bear hide. The robe was from his 8th senior brother, woven from celestial silkworm silk. The doctor thought it still wasn't enough. With that kind of wound, Shui must have broken through the skin barrier. Everyone was shocked upon hearing it. Shui confirmed it. The crowd was amazed and said he truly brought honor to their village. Libo said he was now a real martial artist, and it only took a few months. Ji Chang was frustrated he couldn't catch up to him. Gangchen was worried because Shui was getting too strong. He feared his nephew might come after him. The chief then asked what kind of monster it was since everyone got anxious. Shui said it was a mountain demon, a creature that feeds on blood. He guessed the bloodlust from the ritual attracted it. He wasn't sure if there were more mountain demons near Yixing, but having 3 show up at once felt suspicious. Then someone spoke up, saying that something didn't feel right. He asked if anyone else thought the head looked familiar. It looked like Shaoxing, he claimed. Everyone started wondering what happened to him. With that information, our MC finally was able to crack it. Alchemy, Zhao Estate, Mountain Demons, Lu Clan, Xiaohui, and Fahua Temple. He felt bad for not realizing it sooner. Alchemy was real, but raising mountain demons was the true agenda. He told Chief Chen that this was serious, and he needed to report it to his master in Pingyang County. He suspected that Shaoqing was indeed the mountain demon. Shui was determined to demand answers from them no matter what. At the martial school, the madam was surprised to see him. He greeted her and said he came to report something important. Inside. He told her that he believed the mountain demons were linked to the Zhao estate. She stayed calm. She said he was clever. No wonder the master thought highly of him. From her reaction, he realized she already knew. She reminded him who his master was. It was no other than Yang Dongxiong, the only tiger hunting realm expert in Pingyang. At the Ghost Mother sect stronghold, cloaked men climbed the stairs. Suddenly, they were attacked. They all wondered what it was. A golden horn descended from the sky. It then turned into a sword. Dongxiong appeared. He ordered them to surrender, few days later. It was already night, but he was still training. He had been staying at his master's place for 2 days. The madam told him to stay in the martial hall so he wouldn't get in the way of their plans. She even gave him a silver ingot worth 2,000 wen for daily expenses. He drooled when he received it. The madam said to let her know if it wasn't enough. Thanks to the flesh-mending pill she gave him, his injuries were healed. His master and the madam suspected that the Ghost Mother sect would soon attack the martial artist to make pills, so they were keeping him safe. Suddenly, something flew toward him. He blocked it with his hand. It was an orange, and it left a dent on the wall. He asked who was there. It was his senior brother, Hu. He praised him for his reflexes. Hu heard Shui was in the hall and came to find him. Our MC asked if he just got back. Hu nodded. He said he had just handled a few minor things. He tossed Shui a spear and invited him to spar. Shui gladly accepted. He thanked him and said he looked forward to learning. Hu threw the orange in the air. Shui instantly got distracted. That's when Hu attacked. Their long wooden sticks clashed repeatedly. Shui was pushed back and Hu saw an opening, but Shui blocked it, then he dropped his stick and ran toward Hu. Hu praised his move. The orange then hit the ground. Their match was done. Hu noticed Shui had broken through the skin barrier. With that speed, he believed Shui had a fate pattern. Shui asked what that was. Hu said he'd find out on his fate pattern day and left the explaining to their master. He asked to spar again. Shui shook his hand. They continued, with Hu coaching him. Shui was soon out of breath and drenched in sweat. Hu then said what Shui found out about the Zhao estate matched his own investigation. But he felt like something was off. Shui asked what he meant. Hu said it felt like someone was leaving clues on purpose, but maybe he was just being paranoid. He moved on. He then pulled out a book, The Bowforce Method, perfect for beginners who just broke through the skin stage. He explained that martial techniques are split into 2 types, moves and force techniques. Force techniques are used to control and circulate QE and blood. Only martial artists who've broken through can use them. It helps you channel power through your entire body. He told Shui to read it and use the method to spar with him later. Shui thanked him and asked why he was looking for him. Hu almost forgot. Lu had sent him. He shared that his spirit weapon was ready. Meanwhile, in a dark place, something was chained. It was a mountain demon, and it cried out for its father. A group of humans passed by. A man in a black robe urged them to hurry. Lin Guiyong was the one in charge. He felt uneasy when he saw a girl the same age as his daughter. Another man reminded him that Lord Wu was waiting. They reported that the pill ingredients were ready. In 3 days, they would feed them to the creature in the cell. The guy was pleased. The creature was a mutant, and the pills were essential. Inside the cell, the prisoners looked weak and scared. An old man kept coughing. He couldn't stop calling the name of his young master, at the blacksmith shop. Gang was in front of the forge. He's working on the feather. He's at the second stage where they activate the latent energy within the feather core and let it be absorbed by the tungsten steel. He then threw something in it. He placed a shadow bat hide in it. It can slip into shadows and feed on blood and will serve as the mold base for the spear. Then he quickly called Shui. Shui slashed his hand because a spirit weapon must be forged with the blood of its wielder to complete the final step. The spirit imbuement. He dropped blood in it. The flame soared into the ceiling and formed into a phoenix. Gang took the handle of the spear and connected it to the blade. But he noticed that the weapon's spirit was rejecting the blood. He commented that the bird is unruly even after death. He tried again. The weapon pierced through the forge, but he finally finished the weapon. He called Shui to try it. Shui was in awe when he saw his spirit weapon. He grabbed it and felt its weight. It's at least 54 kilograms. He slowly pulled it out and swung it. He bonded with the spear as if they shared the same blood. Gang told him to go in the back courtyard to try it out since there were wooden stakes there. Shui tried different moves using his spear and he looked cool. Gang praised his form, then he encouraged him to name his spear. Our MC decided to name it Fubo. Someone arrived and saw that their junior brother's weapon was done. It was Hu and Zishui. He asked them what they're doing there. Hu uttered that the master sent Zishui for an investigation and looks like he fooled around. He even has lipstick marks on his cheek. Zishui reasoned that taverns and opera houses are great for gathering intel. Gang asked him if he found something useful. He replied that he heard something about one of Ghost Mother's hideouts. At that time, he was fooling around with the girls. When black-robed men entered, he noticed them, but his attention shifted when a woman barely clothed sat on his lap. He narrated that he followed those men and was led to their hideout near Fahua Temple. With that, he concludes the mission accomplished. Upon learning that, Gang stated that they could move forward with the task that their master gave them. Zishui suggested that a direct assault is the most appropriate. Gang agreed and concluded that they will strike and take down the hideout tomorrow. Zishui stated that their little ninth will be coming with them too. In a serious tone, he told him that it's about time he gets blood in his hands, since he won't be able to avoid it forever, especially not with all the enemies that their master made. Gang bonked him in the head and told Shui not to listen to his nonsense. Then, he asked him what he thought. Shui agreed to go with them. Meanwhile, at the cell of the mountain demon, Zheng was ushered inside. The chained monster was named Tiger, and the black-robed guy shared that it's eating a lot and is as strong as ever. Jing told the guy to leave and not disturb his time with his son. The black-robed man told him to take his time. Jing praised his son, the monster, for working so hard. He uttered that if only his son didn't turn like that. He caressed its face. One would think he'd felt bad, but in reality, this crazy bastard didn't feel any remorse. In fact, he used his son to help him achieve his immortality. It was an early winter night at the hills near the Feiwa Temple. There is a house there. Men and women are lined up while being watched by black-robed men. One of the black-robed men exclaimed that this batch of elixir materials has some real treasures. He's talking about pretty women. His fellowman scolded him by saying to keep his pants on. He requested his boss to give him a moment. His boss warned him that if he screwed up Envoy Huang's plans, he'd be a dead meat. Little did they know that they are being watched by Gang with a black dog Hu and Shui. They felt fortunate that their master lent them Black Fang. Without its keen nose, they wouldn't have picked up the subtle markers forth. Then the dog barked loudly. Gang pets hushed it. The dog whimpered in response. Shui asked where his senior brother Shu went. Zishui pulled his bow and released an arrow. The black-robed guy took a woman, and she resisted. But before he could finish his sentence, he disappeared. He was struck with an arrow and collided with the wall. It happened so fast. One of the black-robed men yelled that they were under attack. Hu stated that it was Zishui's signal. Gang ordered to move out. He ran as fast as he could. The next thing they know, the entrance of the house exploded. Gang made it happen when he charged in. The black-robed men were all focused on him. They took out their swords. Shui couldn't help but be impressed when he witnessed the strength of a galloping horse realm warrior. Hu reminded him not to freeze up since it will be his turn now. Gang punched one of them. 2 men attacked him from the back, but the arrows took them down. Those arrows came from Zishui, who had their backs. Hu and Shui joined the fight too. One of the black-robed men knew that spears aren't fit for tight spaces, so they surrounded Shui. Unexpectedly, Shui maneuvered easily and took them down. When he's done with those men, he went for the ones in front. In one swing of his spear, he took down 3 men at the same time. Gang instructed him to take Black Fang and find the hostages. Meanwhile, in the underground passage beneath the base, those black-robed men yelled that there were intruders. Every single one of them was deployed to meet the intruders head-on. One of the black-robed men fell on his knees and uttered that it's finally over and he won't be tormented anymore. His fellowmen told him to run, but he didn't. He agonized over what happened to the temple and everyone died. He blamed himself for messing up when he blew that woman up. He felt so bad because even kids, the same age as his daughters, became victims. He couldn't take the guilt, and he knew as sinners, they won't be exempted from the punishment. His friend had no idea what he's saying. The man was slashed. He did that to his concerned fellowmen while saying that it was all Zhao Hongyuan and Zheng Xiang's doing. And since Zheng is still inside, he planned to take him down to save his family. Meanwhile, Zheng is scolding some black-robed men for being panicked when their enemies are just 4 students of Dongxiang's. He ordered them to release all the mountain ghosts and scatter it across the hilltop. Those men looked overwhelmed, but agreed to follow the order. Zhen suspected that it was a setup done by Master Zhao Hong. He's annoyed that of all people, he's the one who was sent into the mess. But he still thinks of it as a golden opportunity. He thought that if he could get out through the secret tunnel, he would have the chance to turn the tables. It was about sunrise. The 3 students of Dongxiang looked well. Gang asked where their junior brother was. Hu was under the impression that he's escorting the hostages down the mountain. Gang concluded that they are done there and was expecting Shui, but he's worried since he could feel that the blood in the air is too dense, like something is lurking. He checked the battlefield. Shui was going around wondering if there were more captives nearby. Eventually, he and Black Fang reached the hidden tunnel. He saw that Black Fang reacted. He pushed the door open, and when he entered, the door automatically shuts. The path ahead was dark and creepy. The system displayed that demon hunt has been triggered, and there's no current progress. He is to complete the quest Mountain Sweep Demon Hunt to earn the favor of the River God. Each realm reached in Martial Path Divine Mastery will double martial potential and grant plus 10% damage against water-type beasts. Upon receiving this, Shui was confused at first, but he realized that it was a quest given to him. Out of the blue, Black Fang barked. He saw mountain ghosts, and there were so many of them. Majority are minor ones. Our MC understood that there was no way he could leave, not until he defeated all of them. He looked determined, without any hint of hesitation and fear. He was confident in his body because his strength rapidly increased and his skills were sharpened. Then a few monsters charged forward. He kicked one mountain ghost. He wanted to test his limits. The system displayed his progress. Now, there's one. Now is not the time to hold back. He threw his spear and stabbed the mountain ghost right at the center of its chest. That's his 2nd kill. He continuously attacked and had reached his 6th kill. The blood has tainted his robe and cheek. But there was no time for rest as he needed to begin round 2. Several mountain ghosts attacked him at the same time. He threw his spear to one of them, and as he went to retrieve his spear, 2 monsters chased him. He grabbed his spear and made his 30th and 31st kill. He checked if it was over. Someone arrived and recognized him. He got cautious. It was Zheng. He had this sinister look on his face as he uttered that no one expected an orphan fishmonger would come that far. He stated that it's perfect timing since he has a gift for him. He grabbed a man named Lu Zongsan and told him that his son's fellow disciple had come to save him. Shui recognized that it was Xiaohui's father. It made him angry. He warned Zheng that his brothers were nearby and they would end him. But Zheng wasn't scared at all. Shui was taken aback when the ball behind him exploded. The large mountain ghost came out. Zheng challenged him on who will finish who. At dawn, in one of the Ghost Mother cult's hidden bases, Gang took off running with Hu and Zishui following. Zishui asked if there was a reason to be tense. Hu said the mountain ghosts they'd faced so far were only at the skin-breaking stage, but this time, they were worried that their junior might face a stronger one with strength close to the galloping horse realm. They weren't wrong to worry. Shui was in the most dangerous fight since his rebirth. The ghost had thick, trunk-like arms and a massive body. From how it moved, Shui guessed its power was almost galloping horse level. Still, he didn't feel like giving up. He wasn't one to surrender. He'd fought too hard to survive. He uttered he just couldn't give up, especially not right now. The monster tried to grab him with its hand. While our MC thought, even a miserable childhood didn't break him. So why would this beast scare him? The ghost charged again, but Shui dodged. One punch nearly crushed him if he hadn't blocked it with his spear. He quickly backed away. The ghost rushed forward again. Shui leapt to dodge. Watching from afar, Zheng couldn't believe the brat had only trained for half a year. Shui and the monster clashed again. Zheng told his son to finish him. Shui held his spear steady and slashed the ghost's arm, but he also took a heavy punch that sent him flying. Zheng laughed when he saw Shui hurt. Shui realized the gap between their strength was huge. The system window appeared to show that the quest had been completed and his rewards were being computed. Eventually, it displayed that he received the favor of the river god, and he may fuse with a portion of Riverlord Emperor's grace, attain the first realm of Martial Dad Apotheosis, double the martial talent, and gain 10% increased damage against water-type demon beasts. It asked if he wanted to fuse. He smiled. He was just damn lucky. Luck was part of strength. He accepted. Everything became monochromatic and a whirlpool was created. He wondered where he was. Then he saw sharp golden eyes. Yet he couldn't move his body. A dragon asked the River Lord if he won't show any regard. Shui had no idea who the River Lord was. It was a man in warrior's armor. He looked confident and powerful. Then he replied that violating the heavenly law leads only to death. He told the dragon that surrendering is its only path to survival. Shui realized that he's inside the body of the River Lord. The dragon got angry. It attacked him. The River Lord moved and used his technique called dragon severing. Back in the present time, Zheng mocked Shui for trying to go up against him. He reasoned that he didn't do anything wrong since he just wanted to survive. He was jealous of them for having good fortune when all he has is his son, and all he could do is beg for a path forward. He claimed that he fought so hard for the position of chief steward, and Hong was being a blind fool for doing that to him. He ordered his son to kill Shui. The mountain ghost hovered over Shui's body on the ground. Suddenly, Shui's eyes glowed yellow. Then an explosion that shattered the ground followed. Zheng asked what it was. Shui rose. His eyes were intimidating, and his stance was overbearing. He looked like a completely different person. Back then, Shui asked his master on how strong are the Forge and Transcendent Rainbow realms. Dongxiang replied that no one has seen them, so no one truly knows, but he stated that there is one title that sums it up well. It is the Divine Realm, the current state of Shui. He pointed 2 fingers in front and recited his attack, Dragon Severing. The ground and the surrounding area turned black with the eerie vibes because of the black mist. Zheng couldn't ask what the hell that thing was. Lu Zongsan seemed like he knew what's going on. He ordered his son again to kill Shui. It charges forward. Shui spinned his spear in his hand. Then it was like time stood still. The mountain ghost was confused why it couldn't move. Zheng thought he'd won, but his jaw dropped when he saw the mountain ghost's hand was melted. Then its arm dissipated. It called out to its father. Then it vanished and was completely gone. Zheng fell to his knees. When he realized that he had nothing left, he noticed that Shui collapsed. He watched him and got furious. He blamed him and still intends to kill him. When the wall exploded, he knew someone's coming. It was the other 3 disciples. Gang found the hidden chamber that was left undiscovered, and they saw their junior brother on the ground. They wondered what happened. They could tell that a serious fight took place. They helped Shui up, while Zheng hides behind a pillar. He knew it was his only chance to turn the tables. They planned to take Shui out first and to come back to search the area. Zheng saw them leave and found his chance. He was about to descend a staircase when a black-robed guy called out to him. It was Guiyong. He interrogated him on where his family is. He recognized Lin Guiyong. He called him out for his disrespectful tone to him, a chief steward. Guiyong grabbed him by the collar and demanded to know where his family was. Zheng replied that with all the chaos, no one knows, and he suggested that the mountain ghost ate them. Guiyong snapped. He took out his knife and slashed Zheng's throat and told him to go to hell and atone for his sins. Guiyong was hopeful that his family was still alive. Even when unconscious, Shui felt immense pain, like his body is being torn apart. He saw the river god swing his spear and made a big splash of water, forming a dragon. Then it glared at him. Shui jolted awake. When he saw his surroundings, he realized that he was in his master's residence. He got confused because the last thing he remembers is fighting the mountain ghosts. It made him conclude that the battle ended when he was unconscious. He wondered if the senior brothers saved him. The system window appeared and showed partial fusion with the river god Z was complete, and he obtained the first realm of martial dad apotheosis. Martial talent doubled, damage to water-type beasts increased by 10%. He remembered that he had rewards for the mountain demon hunt quest. He didn't expect that he would fuse with the river god's spirit. He took his spear and started to get up, to practice. And just as he expected, with the talent doubled, his comprehension of martial arts has deepened. He can sense Fubo like it's breathing. He could feel the flame in his chest. It had grown to 3 inches thick and 2 feet long. With it, he can start cultivating flesh. He only practiced martial arts for 2 months, and he's already approaching the second realm. It was a big leap brought by the river god. Few seconds later, the door opened. Hu and Zishuai entered, not expecting him to be so energetic upon waking up. He saw them and greeted them politely. Hu wanted to ask him about what happened in the hidden chamber. He reported that after defeating the last mountain ghost, he blacked out. He realized that his senior brothers didn't know about the greater mountain ghost. He decided to keep it a secret so the river god wouldn't be exposed. Zishuai reported that Zheng died at the scene. That came as a surprise to Shui. It led him to think that someone was watching in the shadows and could have seen him. It was a puzzle to him that if that person isn't from Zhao Manor, it also didn't help him. Hu replied that he'll report everything to their master and suggested that Shui rest a bit more. They expected that the next plan would likely be a full sweep. Zishuai informed Shui that his house renovations are almost done. He congratulated him. Shui had no idea. When he arrived in front of it, he questioned if it was really his house. It was a 2-courtyard residence. One of the men inside announced that their master is back. Everyone gathered at the center. Liu Quanfuk informed Shui, their master, to take a look at the blueprint of the 2-courtyard. Shui told his Uncle Fuk not to call him master and suggested that he continue addressing him as Shui. The village chief replied that he saved the townsfolk, so the house was everyone's way of expressing their gratitude. Then they also handed him a bag of coins, but he told them that it wasn't necessary. He suggested using the money to pay for everyone's wages with 2 rice meals a day. Then the leftover funds after the house is built will be everyone's bonus. They were surprised to hear that there's even rice. In their time, it is more expensive than meat. They sang praises for him. Shui was flattered. Then he inquired how the town was doing. The village chief replied that thanks to Shui, the Yangdong Martial Hall sent 2 third boundary warriors to help guard them. But their faces looked scary. Shui couldn't help but think that if only his father could see it, he'd be so proud. He could say that he's living his life well. At night time, he was contemplating because the last time, the boat was destroyed, and if he wants to fish out on the river again, he will have to buy a new one. But ever since awakening Zed, he's been looking forward to walking on top of the waters. He could remember the river god's move from his dreams. He thought it was nothing since he didn't expect his water manipulation to go that far. But now, even in deep waters, he can ride the waves. It was glorious. Zhao with his son were on their knees asking the envoy what they should do. He was in tears because the main stronghold was taken, and his most trusted head steward Zheng died there. He couldn't believe that those disciples would have killed over 100 of the mountain ghosts. He kept crying. The envoy kicked him, annoyed that all he could do was to cry. The envoy was angry because they were just about to harvest the fruits, and that happened. He asked how the main stronghold got exposed. He's furious that so many of their strongholds are gone, but he stated that at least they still have enough pill materials. He instructed Zhao to get the boat ready as they needed to return to the cult immediately. Zhao replied that it will be ready by morning. He left, and Zhao kept thanking him. While at the courtyard, Sui Yuan looked concerned for his father. Zhao stopped by the tree that he planted 5 years ago, but that tree never bore fruit, he uttered. He asked his son if he knew why he kept it even though it never produced. His son doesn't know. So he explained that it's valuable even without fruit. It attracts birds and beasts every day for them to eat, like Zheng, Guiyang, young master Lu. He stated that those people were birds and beasts, born to be devoured by them. He called it natural selection. Xie couldn't believe they would treat Zheng that way too. He asked if it was his father's doing to send Zheng on that stronghold. Zhao claimed that trees will eventually rot and they couldn't rely on them forever. The same goes for the Ghost Mother cult. He gave his son a wooden box and instructed him to send someone to send it to Shui. That night, he planned for them to set sail to Huangzhou and let Huang Zejun deal with the mess. In the morning, someone was happy to have seen Shui. He was walking on the street and was being flattered by people. They gossiped about his achievements like killing dozens of mountain ghosts by himself. One person told them that what they heard was that it was about 100. Shui knew that the rumors getting out of hand was probably caused by his senior brother Zi Shuai. Then he was surprised at what he saw. 4 of his senior brothers were there. They noticed him. Hu told him to come and see what Zhao sent him. He was puzzled. It was deeds and hand letters. The shop deeds are worth 2,300 taels of silver, or around 4.6 million wen, and were offered as an apology to Shui, and the rest are his gifts for everyone else. It made them realize that Zhao isn't an ordinary old man. There was a document that clearly marked Ghost Mother cult's escape routes, times, and their contacts. Hu theorized that the stronghold was deliberately exposed. Zi Shuai said that if that's true, then the person who planned it could be scheming something bigger. Gang initiated to report to their master and ask for their next steps. He didn't want any of them to escape. A month ago, someone called old Liu and asked if he's going to bring his wife a meal again. He replied that he didn't want her to go hungry by watching the boat by the river. They were impressed by how good of a man he is. He hurried since he doesn't want his wife to go hungry. He went straight and through the field and saw the boat by the shore. He was looking forward to seeing Aju, but a man came up to him and pointed a dagger on his neck. He dropped the lunchbox and fell. Someone then grabbed it, and that person looked exactly like him. His body was left there, but it no longer had skin, in the middle of the day. Liu took water from the lake. He was thinking that it had been a month already, and it was the final day of the appointment made by the envoy. And when the time comes, he'll deal with the wife and child. But someone whispered to him that he can't bear to do it, and if offered to help him if he can't do it. He splashed his face with water and replied that it should stay away from him. He looked furious, but then responded that he can't get rid of it because they are one and the same. Zishuai and Shui approached him and asked if he's doing ferry service. They had to cross, and they needed someone to take them. He accepted them. His wife and child saw him off. Shui knew it's not the time to move yet. They had to prepare in facing those cult. Zishuai asked old Louis if it was his wife and daughter. He replied yes. Then, with a serious expression on his face, Zishuai told him that saying those words while wearing someone else's skin is disgusting. He replied that he doesn't understand. There was a moment of silence. Before Zishuai took out his daggers and uttered that he had to peel the skin before the man spoke the truth. The man got annoyed since there's just a day left. He frantically cursed out loud. He uttered that if he could have just made it through that day, he won't have to kill the wife and child. He decided to kill Shui and Zishuai. His body emits an ominous aura. Shui recognized that it signifies a galloping horse stage. He immediately brought out his spear. Zishuai and old Louis had engaged in a fight. Shui was behind Zishuai, and he pointed the spear at old Liu. The boat rocked. Zishuai told the man that there's 2 of them, and only him, so he may not hold out. But the man asked, on who said that he was alone. Suddenly, a man jumped from the water. This man expressed that old Liu should have left him out earlier. Shui got an alert that there's another one, its chains wrapped around his arms, and pulled him into the water. Old Liu revealed that Ghost Mother guards always come in pairs, one in the light and one in the dark. His Shadow Guard specialization is underwater assassination techniques. He told Zishuai that if he can't kill him in 5 minutes, the kid will die. The Shadow Guard expected that the kid's lungs had bursted already. He was confident since underwater was his domain, but he felt a yank in his chains, and it pulled him to collide with the waterbed. He asked what it was. Shui stated that ever since his fusion level passed 70%, he had been curious on how far he could go underwater, so he owed him a thank you. The Shadow Guard couldn't believe that he's being pulled in with such immense force. With a sharp gaze, Shui welcomed him to his domain. The Shadow Guard was thinking that in their world, there are no gods. Because if there would be any, it wouldn't come to save him, and they never responded to him. If they existed, he thinks that he wouldn't be in such a state. Some believe that gods can only be seen before death. Him and Shui were face-off and were connected by the chain. He asked who exactly that guy was. He knew his strength, speed, and he thought that if he's fast enough, the kid would be dead for sure. He attacked first. Shui used the water traverse and got closer to the Shadow Guard to punch him in the jaw. That blasted him away. Then he saw him disappear. He questioned how he was hit when he's on the galloping horse stage. Shui yanked him again. That surprised him, and Sui waited for him to come to him while he prepared his fist. His punch landed. It was so powerful that it shattered the waterbed. Dealing with someone in the galloping horse stage underwater wasn't a problem to him at all. He's worried for his senior, so he plans to immediately return to the boat. The Shadow Guard was unable to move. He thought that this big brother was right. The Shadow Guard was talking about how the god could only be seen before death. Shui, together with Sleepyhead, swam up. Old Liu crashed on the boat. He still kept saying that the little junior is dead. Shui was tense. A hand grabbed the boat. To their surprise, it was Shui. He reported to them that the short guy was eaten by a water beast underwater. He looked exhausted. He's putting on an act. Sleepyhead can be seen from a distance, and it made those two believe that Shui's story was true, and that he just got lucky. After that, the one called Old Liu lost. Eventually, he was arrested. He looked back to his family. The woman glared at him, and the child looked scared. Shui uttered that the cultists from the Ghost Mother sect don't seem particularly strong. Shui replied that they are a broken generation. He explained that a martial artist at the tiger hunting stage can live 120 years, and immortal stage even longer. But it has been 60 years since the fall of Great Chien. The older generation can still hang on, the really old one can live, but the middle generation is already dead. Immortal stage-level veterans don't just show up casually, which made him conclude that those people aren't the backbone of the Ghost Mother sect. He uttered that the scary ones are the elites who come out of the sect, at the Zhao Manor. The envoy was pacing as he stated that after 40 years of joining the sect, developing branches and followers non-stop, he finally obtained the blood sacrifice grand technique. He uttered that the sect is lacking in talent, desperately needing new blood, and the wolf smoke great pill is his greatest hope. Then someone knocked on the door. It was taken down by a log, and the log was sent flying to him. Before it hits him, he uses his power to break the log into pieces, and he asked who's there. It was Gang and Hu. Gang attacked first, but the envoy had blocked it with his forearms. The impact pushed him backwards to collide with the wall. Gang had evaluated that the man had mid-level wolf smoke power, one realm higher than him. He stated that the battle must be swift and decisive. The envoy uttered that he thought he was strong. Hu was concerned that the man took a punch without any injury at all. The man got up and dusted his clothes. Then he declared that none of them are going to leave alive. He exudes chi force. Gu did the same. He stomped and the statues were lifted. Then he kicked it towards him. The man chopped it off with his hands. He got annoyed and called it petty tricks. Next, an arrow was fired at him. Huai released that attack. The man was confident that the small arrow wouldn't break his ki force, but Hu knew that it's enough. The tip of the arrow splits and spat out smoke. It blinded the man. Gang rushed forward to punch him. It was followed by a huge explosion. He wondered if it was over. The man was on the ground, caressing his nose. He realized that he had been exposed thanks to Zhao Hongyuan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come prepared. He took out a pill while telling them that he won't let a single one of them go. He created an arrow with his hand. Hu pointed out that the man's wolf smoke great pill is gone. Gang suggested that he surrender. It made him realize that Zhao told them about it too. But he told them that it isn't actually a pill. They saw him put something in his mouth. He swallowed it, and his body transformed. He somewhat looked like a monster. His power was overwhelming. An image of the mouth of the mountain ghost appeared behind him. He exhaled. He asked them if they could withstand the power of late-stage wolf smoke. Shaoi led a horse. Him and Zishuai were off to the Jiao Manor at the end of the street. He suggested that they hurry. When they arrived in front of the house, there was an eerie feeling. Zishuai could tell that it's from the third senior inside. He knew it meant trouble. Then, a part of the house exploded. Gang commented that cults are cults after all, because they always made themselves look like neither human nor ghosts. The envoy called them a bunch of hypocrites acting all noble. He told them that the remnants of the former dynasty, being neither human nor ghost, isn't what they've always wanted to see. His past was chaotic. His village burned down and everyone ran when the soldiers came. A man told a woman to take the child with her and run. The soldiers were there to kill all remnants of the former dynasty. They wouldn't let anyone live. Eventually, the child's mother got sick and was on her deathbed. The child met the sect and told him that every one of them shall devote their lives to serve the holy mother of the sect. They knew it was not for such a child to survive, so they took the child as their disciple and was renamed Huang Zejun. At the current moment, Zejun attacked Gang. Their Kui clashed. Hu couldn't provide support because it was difficult to aim. Then he heard someone calling out to him. Shui and Zishuai had arrived. He admitted to Zishuai that he couldn't help Gang. Zishuai took over the bow and arrow. He aimed. While Shui watched the fight of a wolf smoke, he admits that he was overwhelmed. Gang knew he wouldn't last long, so he must find a way to break the stalemate. He speculated that the weak spot is around the heart. He planned to create an opening for his junior brothers. An arrow was shot over his head. It was aimed towards the heart of Zejun. But Gang finds it strange because the arrow didn't feel like it was the fourth brother's power. Zejun emphasized that the arrow wouldn't even scratch his Kwai force. Gang understands now that Zishuai is misleading Zejun. They worked together, which made it possible for Gang to stab Zejun at the chest. Zejun was taken aback. Then Zishuai saw the opportunity. He released a powerful arrow. There was a statue of a masked man. While staring at the masked statue, the teenage Zejun asked his master why they can't live openly under the sun. His master replied that they are the remnants of the old era, because the current era had no place for them, since someone had taken what rightfully belonged to them, and no matter what, they will one day make them pay the price. But currently, the arrow had struck him right at the center of his chest. He coughed up blood and wondered how it was possible. Shui realized what just happened. The first arrow shot by his senior brother deliberately had weakened power to numb Huang Zejun, and they made them think that it was done by the fourth brother. Then the second arrow immediately burst forth with galloping horse stage peak power. It made him realize that he has a lot to learn. When Zejun didn't move, he called Hu to bind him with a blue steel chain. That blue steel chain was specially made for wolf smoke martial artists. Shui finds wolf smoke martial artists to be terrifying. The heart had shattered, yet the person was still alive. Zishuai pats his shoulder and tells him not to be scared. He uttered that those cults love looking neither human nor ghosts. Zejun heard that and repeated that phrase. He asked them if they have ever lived in a cave where sunlight never reaches all year round. He questioned them if they had crawled out of a pile of corpses. He yelled that he only wanted to live under the sun openly. He assumed that pampered people like them know nothing. Zishuai told him not to justify his evil deeds with righteousness, because the things he had done destroyed countless families, and so many children lost their fathers, and so many fathers lost their children. So he shouldn't try to glorify his selfish desires, because instead of him being pitied, Zishuai felt this urge to break his limbs instead and dig out his heart to feed the dogs. Shui was overwhelmed with his reaction. Gang informed him that Zishuai was one of the orphans from villages wiped out by the Ghost Mother sect. It seemed like Zejun recognized him. Zishuai almost choked Zejun, but Gang stopped them and told him that it's time to bring him back to the martial hall. Zishuai clicked his tongue. To lighten the mood, Gang offered to take out Zhou Shuai for a drink. Hu added that he's going to show off his skills. The two of them had their arms around his shoulder, and he felt like he's being crushed. Shui watches them. It was a warm feeling that he had never felt before. Gang invited him to come too. That surprised him, but he felt touched and he replied yes. Shui looked for his pet fatty. It fell asleep while eating lotus root. Its tummy looked so full. It dreamt of its master Shui, and it felt like a nightmare. Because of this, it jolted awake. Then it sighed. Relieved that it was just a dream, it rubbed its eyes and grabbed its bag. Fatty looked in the mirror and slapped both of its cheeks to awaken itself fully. Now the beast is pumped up. He went out of the cave and saw a fish. It sets its eyes on it. It was a spirit fish. Then it noticed Fatty charging in. It swam fast and downward just to evade the attacker. Fatty hit the ground and got annoyed for missing it. He recalled what Shui lectured them, not to transform randomly or people from Hebo's office might notice. The fish let out another sigh, and it just laid there contemplating. It recalled Shui's advice that when brute force doesn't work, it should try winning with wits. Fatty then had a light bulb moment. It swam away. The spirit fish noticed that, again. Then its eyes widened. Fatty was wearing a shell bra and seducing the spirit fish. The target fish turned pale. It turned around and left, as if it had made some sort of decision. Laughter can be heard on the side. It was Fist and Sleepyhead, and they laughed at what they had just seen. Fatty felt bad and hid in the corner, at the Marshall Hall. Shui was shirtless and sweaty, but he couldn't calm down. Ever since they handed over Zaijin a few days ago, the madam exchanged the Zhao family estate deed for hard silver and distributed it to them. When he received the 150 tiles, his snot and jaw dropped. Because it wasn't just not ordinary silver, but fine silver, it made him think that the madam was so generous. 1 tile of fine silver is more valuable than regular silver. 1 ingot of 50 tiles equals 52.4 taels in regular silver. So it's 50 taels plus 2.4 taels bonus, 3 ingots would total about 157.2 taels. Zishui and Gang talked about how it's probably Shui's first time seeing so much money and got overwhelmed with it. After he followed them to eliminate other mountain spirits, his own strength has stabilized as well. He hasn't broken through the flesh stage, but he can already feel it. He knew that the day would come soon. Zishui arrived and commented that Shui is diligent. Shui was happy to see him. Zishui reported to him that the master had returned, and he's calling them over to discuss merits and hand out rewards. Shui was dumbfounded that there's more rewards. Zaijun was chained and cursed at Zhao. He vowed to kill him. He was tied to a pole, and the disciples were about to have their meal in front of him. Zishui asked if they really needed to eat while being watched by those two. Changsong replied that it was arranged by the mistress. Zishui asked him why he's there when he wasn't even in the Zhao residence battle. He told him not to think of it that way since it just happened that they were on another mission. Shui expressed how he's impressed with the madam for arranging everything in the Yang residence perfectly. Gang uttered that Shui must not have known the madam's family name. He shared that the surname is Shu, which is a prominent name in Huangzhou. During the time of the great ancestor, her family produced a grand secretary and several ministers. The master and his wife were even matched by Grand Marshal Shu Wenju himself. And the madam's father is none other than Shu Rongguang, a third-rank official and imperial banquet master. Changsong stated that the madam marrying their master would be considered marrying below her station. Gang warned him to be careful, or the master would skin him alive. The servants then announced the arrival of the master and madam. He praised them all for doing well. Then he stated that as for the 2 thieves, they will be handed to the authorities in the afternoon. Zaijin yelled that it doesn't matter if they kill them because their sect has many members and countless experts, and they will punish them. Master Yang replied that a backwards organization doesn't even understand the concept of sustainability. He called them foolish. He told Zaijin that he's alive because he's still useful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let him live until then. Zaijin was taken aback. Then the master continued to say that after the Trisect Tribunal, they will all definitely be greatly rewarded. And he had something for Shui. He brought an item which was a gift from his senior brother. It just arrived at the courier station yesterday, so he brought it. That made Shui curious. At the army, the soldier praised the captain for taking down the late Wolf Smoke Stage general just to get a reward, and yet he's giving it away. They called him generous. They admitted that they all had their eyes on that item for ages. He joked that the captain shouldn't play favorites. The captain is a young man with long silver hair. He replied that he knew what those military thugs were thinking. He told them that drinks are on him when they get back. That got the soldiers excited. He felt flattered. He wondered if Shui would like his gift. Shui opened the box. It released green mist. His eyes widened when he saw it. It was a spiritual weapon.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.